Whoa. Am I live? Oh my gosh, am I live? No. Whoa. I'm live. Hey everybody. I'm just testing this. Guess we are live. Are we live? Can you guys see me? Hello, hello, hello. If I am live, I'm definitely gonna have to edit this out. Well, that's good. Oh man, we are. Okay. Ooh. Let's do this. We're gonna start early. Thanks everyone for being here. Can't believe we're live. Cheers, everyone. My friend told me when on YouTube you have to share what you're drinking and eating because that's what people like. So that's what we'll do. Hey everybody, thanks for coming on a Saturday night, whatever time it is for you. You're all nerds for joining something like this at a time like this, but there's no place I'd rather be myself. So thanks for coming. Cheers. And cheers to my wife, the real hero, for watching over the kids while we do something like this. So anyways, let's get this started. Cheers. I see you all in the chat. Thank you all. Hey, you nerds. So what we'll do is we'll answer as many questions as we can. I'll try to keep this interactive in the chat. Thanks for all your well wishes. Really appreciate it. And if you see a question that someone else asked that you also, want me to answer, like say that in the chat just in case I miss it. Yeah. Guinness is my favorite. Okay, let's get this started. What time is it? 6:59. We're good to go. Send me your easy questions in the chat, right? Your hard questions. It's all good to me. Okay, let's see. I'm going through the chat. Thomas, Charles, Eric, Alejandra. Programming perception. India, Singapore. Nice. Milwaukee. Nathaniel. Bris Vegas. Not sure where that is, but it sounds awesome. Hey. Chicago. All right. Let's see. Let's get some questions. Oh, by the way, in terms of questions, I'm going to generally try to prioritize questions that are more generic, like not specific to one person, just so it can benefit more people. Okay. California. Bam. Good morning. Where is Salesforce DevOps space heading? A shish. Guess we'll start with that one. 5 years ago, there was like no Salesforce DevOps, and there were a bunch of third-party players in here, like AutoRabbit, GearSet, Flowsum, Copado, and they were getting no traction. But these days, I see a lot more traction. I think teams are taking kind of the engineering aspect of Salesforce a lot more seriously. So I feel like DevOps is picking up. Will it ever be like huge in the Salesforce industry? I don't know. Like, I feel like one of the big benefits of Salesforce is that you can use it like pretty quickly without much like infrastructure and red tape. So we'll see. Personally, I wouldn't really bet money on it. I wouldn't buy like Salesforce DevOps stocks. All right, sweet. Let's keep going. Orlando, Romeo. Do U.S. companies hire remote positions from outside the U.S.? Anant Shiva. Yes, a lot. I mean, the offshoring I see on Salesforce is quite high. To put things in perspective, an offshore Salesforce developer costs about 75% less than a onshore Salesforce developer. So thank you, Matthew D. So yeah, there's a decent amount of offshoring going on, but not as much as I thought at this point. I feel like when I've worked on like general non-Salesforce engineering teams, like they all have offshore, but on Salesforce specific teams, not, only less than 50% have any offshore. All right, Atlanta, Georgia, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Bam, Minu. Hey, I want to be a Salesforce. Mario, hey, I want to become Salesforce developer. Studying as hard as I can, but it doesn't work. Top 3 most important rules to make a good impression on the recruiting team. All right, I love these kind of questions that talk about like interview and resume strategies and making a good impression. I've um I've done hundreds, maybe a thousand, I don't know, interviews for a lot of companies, including a lot for Google. A lot of times, like the small things can really separate. I'll talk about the non-technical stuff first. Like the small things, like I don't know, making eye contact, shaking someone's hand, like speaking like coherently. Those things make a big difference. Even in COVID, like eye contact in COVID is like when I look in the camera like this, which I'm not doing a very good job of because I'm looking at the chat. But like this is like the kind of thing you want to do. You want to like look relaxed. You want to talk relaxed. Like small things, like when you don't know the answer to a question, you admit it. You'd be like, look, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure how to answer this question. But if I was on the job, what I would do is, you know, I would Google it, I'd try things out and like really make a good impression there, speaking like that. In terms of technical stuff, some things that really stand out to me are when people build personal projects on Salesforce. That's good because like you can do that on your own time and show it off during the interview. Whereas like usually during an interview, you're answering questions off the top of your head. So you might get really nervous and not answer it well. So those are some tips I have for you. Okay, let's keep going. How do we get Visa sponsorship job in Salesforce? Whew. Most people I know have some sort of Visa sponsorship in Salesforce. We could probably talk a long time about this. I think it's a broken industry in terms of visas, and there's a lot of bad things going on. People getting like held hostage in the tech industry and all these sort of things. I find that like there's often multiple companies in between like the company they're working for and the company like they're directly working with. But generally what I'd recommend if you want to get Visa sponsorship, you basically 100% have to be a developer. Highly recommend platform developer too. And then from there you should be good to go. Okay, let's keep going. Ooh, a lot of questions. Joseph Buchanan, 44 years old, been out of the workforce 5 years. Can you give me some advice in landing a job as a Salesforce admin? Great question, Joseph. And I really hope I can answer this well for you because you are in an important time. Honestly, I don't really consider X years out of the workforce that bad of a thing, especially at your age, 44, which I'd consider like to the mid to older age, to be honest, because you have a lot of experience already that might help. So basically, if I were you, what I would do is I would take all the experience I've had in the past and somehow point that towards a Salesforce job. Make it seem like it's very relevant towards a Salesforce job. For example, let's say you were a waitress or a waiter, right? Has absolutely nothing to do with Salesforce. But if you're applying for a Salesforce admin job, I would pivot that and say, look, I have great people skills with people in various mind spaces. They could be happy, they could be sad, you know, but you work with people on a daily basis. And like, I would pivot that and say that is good towards your Salesforce admin job. I'd also do a lot of like personal projects, volunteer type of stuff to try to like fill in some of those gaps on your resume and definitely get certified. I can go a lot deeper into that, but that's a great question. All right, let's keep going. Okay, I don't know. I don't even know which like questions to choose. Sudworks, there we go. Basic 3 programming languages a Salesforce developer should process. Today, definitely Apex, because that's kind of like the core language. But I would the front end stuff is so big today. Like I'm gonna do a video on this, like what can a Salesforce developer do that an admin cannot? I feel like that's an interesting topic these days. And like 2 of the biggest things, one is integration, which is a lot of backend code, which is Apex. And then the second one is really custom UIs, which is LWCs. And so I would get my LWC and JavaScript really, really good. I think, and of course, SQL. So you should be good there. Adam Condon, thank you very much. Practice Salesforce developer. How to practice Salesforce developer projects. Yeah, I got one bit.ly/go-apex. I'll type in the chat. /go. That has a project on it. A couple projects. You want to check it out. That should help you get some practice in coding. Of course, my Apex Academy has a lot of homework. And by the way, it's free for everyone. So just email me and you can have all my courses and just do all the homework there. Definitely recommend that. I'd also recommend going on the Stack Exchange and answering questions there. Or at least reading about it. Am I wearing an Aura ring? I'm wearing some rubber ring. And I wear it so when I work out and I hold the bar, which I don't work out very much, but when I do, it doesn't scratch it. All right, so many questions, so many good questions. I'm sorry, I'm definitely gonna miss some, so you may need to like retype them sometimes. What is the Matthew D? What is the most impressive portfolio project you've seen from somebody? You know, it's so rare that I see a resume where someone actually has personal projects on it. Maybe like 1 in 20 or 1 in 30 resumes, I'll see it. And actually, even come to think of it, my resume doesn't have one. But the ones that I've been most impressed with is when they have a some Git repo that they've been working on with a lot of with what's it called when you check in code into a Git repo, but basically a lot of updates in their Git over like the course of many years. Even if no one's using it, it doesn't even matter. The fact that they've built something and maintained it over many years, that I'm always like, wow, this person is dedicated. I have a lot of respect for that. Sai Krishna, how to get real-time experience before getting the job. Any tips? I've got a video on this called how to fake experience on the resume. I definitely recommend that. The TLDR, the short answer to that is build personal projects. I've been saying personal projects a lot today. Definitely build personal projects.
Someone's at the front door.
Okay, here we go. What's this? We got a super chat. Anant Shiva. Thank you very much. I appreciate your donation. I will definitely answer your question. All right, thanks. Question is, how should someone go from outside the US, go about positioning himself to secure remote positions in the US? Great questions. Thank you for the donation, by the way. Also, I'll say I live a good life. Don't feel any pressure to donate to me. So if I was remote, and I wanted a position in the US, like just from a skill set perspective, there's two things I do. The first thing I mentioned is you definitely have to be a developer. I have literally never seen a remote like admin in the US before because there's a decent amount of supply of that in the US. So you have to go developer. I would rush platform developer 2. I would also rush, what's it called? JavaScript developer certification. And then the one that's overlooked the most is like, I personally would take every class I could on English and just get my speaking skills really good. Because when it comes time for interview, there are times when I'll see someone and like clearly they are decent technically, but I just have trouble communicating with them. And that really kills it. Also, like some things that companies here worry about with remote people is like, because they're remote and you can't actually like see them face to face, they're worried that people remote won't be as responsible and won't like work hard, I guess, or won't be reliable. So I'd focus on showcasing on my resume how reliable I am and how like kind of trustworthy I am. And I'm not sure exactly how I do it, but it'd definitely be a focus. So there's that. I'd also really update my LinkedIn profile. And I'd put like Salesforce developer everywhere. I put my certifications everywhere. I need to do a video on this, but basically the best way to find a job is for recruiters to find you. Because if you're a Salesforce developer these days and your LinkedIn looks good, you're probably getting like 5 recruiters reaching out to you every day. So just look at my LinkedIn profile and try to copy something similar. All right. Well, okay. We got a lot of donations coming in. The green stuff, good stuff. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. What made you fall in love with Salesforce? Mina Chem. I hope I'm not missing it. Mina Chem, Mendel Shanowitz. What made me fall in love? Coming from did I find the tech impressive? You know, I did not have a strong technical background before I came into Salesforce. I did not have any technical background. I had a marketing degree. I was a professional email spammer. And then I didn't even know Salesforce was hot. It's just something I was kind of forced to do on the job. When I fell in love was probably the first thing that comes to mind is when I sent an email to Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, and I was this 20-year-old, 22-year-old guy, and I just emailed him. I was like, "Hey, can I have a ticket to Dreamforce?" And he actually emailed me back and said, "Yeah, I'll give you a ticket." And I promised him I would do good things in his industry one day. So that's where I was like, "All right, I'm committed." But also, I fell in love. I remember when I wrote my first code that hit production. That felt good, knowing that I could help my company in such a way that no one else really could, and that they'd have to like hire a consultant to. Do I find Salesforce tech impressive? Nowadays, I don't really consider Salesforce a top tier tech company in terms of like pure technology. And I say that with love. Like I would put, Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix up there. Salesforce, not necessarily, to be honest. For example, like they'd have to like double all their governor limits, and I'd be like, all right, sweet. But they are a great tech company. If I was the best engineer on the planet, Salesforce would not be like one of the top 5 companies I'd apply to. All right, let's keep going. Ugo, Chukwu, Patrick, Usuji, thank you again for the super chat. You helped me land my first consultant role at a Big 4. What do you think about the Slack acquisition? That acquisition really surprised me. I'm personally part of like 20 Slacks, and I haven't opened my Slack in years. It's kind of too stimulating for me. I use Discord a lot, and I love Discord. But how do I feel about it? Man, I feel like Salesforce is branching out so much. Like they've got Slack, now they have Salesforce Plus, they got all the Einstein stuff, the Tableau stuff. It's kind of a double-edged sword for me. On one hand, I like that they're doing this so they can kind of grow their footprint. On the other hand, it's like, what is Salesforce even these days? Like it covers so much ground. I'm kind of worried that they lose focus, actually. And they don't focus on the core things that make Salesforce really great. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. Also, like once they acquired Slack, they become a competitor to so many other companies. So I'm not sure how I really felt about it. I don't know how positively I felt about it. But the people at Salesforce are a lot smarter than me, so don't listen to me. At some point you grow so big, and I see this at companies I work for, that it's impossible to innovate internally because there's just too much red tape. It's just too big of a company. There's too many personalities. Like you almost have to acquire other companies to innovate. And that's been Salesforce's strategy for the past few years. And so I think it's better than not acquiring them. I'll put it that way. All right, here we go. M. Swarnell, another green one. Thank you very much. I'm a Salesforce Einstein developer. Transition into UX design. How do I transition from Salesforce to UX design? Oh, wow, that's a great question. I never got anything like that before. How do I transition into UX design? I'm going to assume you mean general UX design. What I would do, this is going to be a great tip. There is an app out there called Avani, Avonni, Avani Creator. And that is a Salesforce UX designing tool. I use that tool like religiously. And I run a lot of UX studies with my users using that tool so I can prototype things really quickly, show it to users, get feedback before actually developing. That's like the step you need to take in between being an actual full-fledged UX developer. You do that enough, and then on your resume, you can say, hey, I do all these UX things that average developers don't do because I love it. And I think that'll help you get a job there. So thank you very much. Okay, sweet. Let's keep going. I think that's the end of the green chats. I'm going to quickly look through the chat, and I want to like respond to as many things as I can. Thank you for all you do. What are common mistakes you see on a resume or in an interview, admin or developer? The most common one I see on a resume is having a resume that's over 1 page long. I would say 95% of resumes I see are over 1 page long. And that's a huge problem because there's no way I'm going to read every word of a 6-page resume. And everyone always says, like, how can you have a resume that's only 1 page long? My resume is only 1 page long. I have a decent amount of experience and achievements and all that stuff. So I feel like if I can do it, I feel like most people can do it. And what it does is it makes, like, it adds focus. Like, it's like when you're clicking on a YouTube video, if the video is like 50 minutes long, you're like, oh, what, do I really want to watch that? But if it's like shorter, then you're like, okay, this is something digestible. All right. Admin dev hybrid still relevant in 5-10 years time. Carry on mail. Yeah, I think it'll be the most relevant job in 5 to 10 years time. I feel like you have to balance your career between, do I want to work at a big company where I'm very specialized, or do I want to work at a small company where, like, I have to wear many hats? And if you go too far into one of those ends, then you kind of limit your career potential. Because like, let's say you just go super deep into the dev end, then, like, you'd have trouble working at a small company because, you wouldn't be used to, like, doing all the non-dev work. And so I feel like being a hybrid admin dev actually opens up the most possibilities for you. And I feel like I consider myself an admin dev hybrid, and I feel like my non-dev skills have contributed more to my personal growth at Google than my coding ones. Nathaniel Martin, do you see flows blurring the lines between devs and admins? Yeah, flows are getting great. They are awesome. This is, like, a really interesting topic, actually. I do. I like it. I always like it when I see admins not being afraid of jumping into flows, because, like, their power literally increased like 1000x from workflow rules. Do I think, I still remember when flows were launched, I don't know, over 5 years ago. Like, at that point, it hit me like, this is going to be big one day. And I remember finding the product manager for it and being like, hey, is this going to replace Apex? And they're like, no, there's always going to be a need for code. And I think that's true, especially with integrations and front end work. But I like that admins are getting more powerful. I think that's good. If you want to be an admin, here's my tip for you. If you want to be an admin, like, get to know flows really well. And if you want to be an admin and you do not want to code for some reason, then just, like, be a master of flows, and you're going to have a lot of job opportunities. All right, let's keep going. Romeo, in terms of Salesforce, do you think spending time learning to code or staying within the realm of an admin while learning management skills is better, or both? I think both. So admin manager path versus dev path. That one I'd say, like, you have to go with your heart in terms of what you enjoy more. Like, I think if you're an admin and you just, like, hate code, then don't learn to code. I know there's people out there that are like that. Don't learn to code. If you're a developer and you hate admin stuff, then, don't do the admin stuff. I feel like half the equation is, like, enjoying what you do so that you can really focus and work hard on it. So yeah, if, like, both are 50-50 to you, then there you go. Long term, though, management, I feel like, is the safest of everything. It's the path I'm personally on. So yeah. Ajay Patil, how easy is it in FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix, to change from a Salesforce specific role to a non-Salesforce? It's very easy. Transferring in big companies, I've transferred teams 4 times within Google. First, I was on ads, then I joined Nest, then Cloud, now I'm on Google Play. It's easy to transition to non-Salesforce roles. In fact, it's probably easier within FANG companies than it is on the open job market. Because on the open job market, they'd be like, huh? Why are you not doing Salesforce stuff? Okay, oh, there we go. Super chat. Matthew D. That's my boy right there, Matthew D. Trying to move from a big 4, thank you, Matthew, big 4 analytics PM consulting work Becoming a dev. Is LWC Einstein a good area to target versus admin dev hybrid? LWCs are super hot right now, Matthew. Super hot. You can prove to a company that you are good in LWCs, you're good to go. Einstein, I feel like it's still going to be a few years before that's ever hot. And I say this as someone who has deployed Einstein AI models and Einstein analytics models in production. That stuff's not really ready for prime time. But the LWC stuff, super hot. I would, so you basically choose LWCs where you go deep into the coding or admin dev hybrid. Both I feel are good. In terms of like pure money making, LWC is going to give you more potential. And you can always come back on the admin side down the road. However, if you went admin dev hybrid, it'd be harder to come into LWCs later. See, like the reason LWCs are super hot right now is because they're relatively new and they're so powerful. And so just getting to the forefront of that is gonna do good things for you. Cheers, Matthew. Tejas Galsasi, thank you very much for your super chat. Difference between Salesforce dev and consultant. As a developer, should you pursue consultant certs? How is a solution engineer different from dev? Good question. As a developer, I recommend pursuing every cert. At some point, your certs matter. So especially as a consultant, the goal is really just to get as many certs as you can, because a lot of people don't know this, but a consultants, they earn different Salesforce tiers, like partner tiers, like silver tier, gold tier, platinum, based on how many certifications their employees have. So if you get a ton of certifications, that makes them look good. So get as many as you can, whether they're developer certs, consultant certs, or not. And that'll pay you dividends whether you become a consultant or not either. So like if you can get over 10 certifications, you're going to be super fine and dandy. How is a solution engineer different from a developer? Solution engineers, in my experience, are more salespeople than developers. Like, they're not actually good at building things from scratch, but they'll build like a lot of prototypes that don't really work, but are good for like demo purposes. So I think if you want to be more of a sales type of role, a solution engineer is like a hybrid sales kind of developer role. I feel like it's a more specialized role in my opinion. It's something I wouldn't really put my bet on my career long term. I feel like it's hard to get jobs in that industry, in my opinion. Could be wrong though. Never personally pursued it. Shashi Chin, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. And thank you everyone, by the way, for being here. Thanks for your time educating us over the years. 2020. I came across your videos, blog, and started myself educating in Salesforce. Now I have PD1. Cheers. Cheers, Shashi. Appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. Proud of you. PD1. That's going to open doors. PD2 time. Good stuff. I appreciate you. I didn't ask a question. I appreciate it. Thank you. How often do I do reading, learning, getting badged on Trailhead? Almost never. It's not because I don't want to learn anymore. I'm pivoting my career outside of tech, to be honest. I'm trying to become more generic. And this is related to the videos I've mentioned where like I don't think Salesforce is going to be hot in 20 years. And so I kind of making myself more future proof. It's a controversial take, to be honest. Because it really depends where you are in your career, where you want to be, and like where you live, all that stuff. Personally, for me, at my age, 34, with 31 years left in my career, I know at some point Salesforce is going to be gone, so I have to be more generic. Also, I'm probably like more ambitious than the average person. Like I always want to stay on like the top 25% basically. And I felt like I cannot necessarily do that as a purely technical person or a hands-on person. At some point within a company, like the most powerful person in the room is not the person building things. One person can only build so much. At some point, the most powerful person in the room is the person who has the most influence or who can work on higher level stuff. And so that's kind of what I'm chasing. So I'm getting out of the weeds in Salesforce. Let's see how that turns out. All right, let's keep going. Diego, I'm working as an admin. I'd like to be a developer. However, it's kind of difficult for me to understand how to become a developer. Should I stop trying and just be an admin? That's a good question. I'd say it depends why you want to be a developer. If you want to be a developer because like you really want to be like an engineer, you like kind of like digging deep into technology, then definitely keep trying. If your main reason for becoming a developer is purely financial, then I think you're going to run into struggles like this that'll prevent you from trying. I mean, there's going to be times where like you're going to look at a single line of code for 8 hours and you're going to be like, oh, I had a typo, and it'll take you 8 hours to find it, or I missed a semicolon. And like, that's just like when you're learning, that's just going to happen over and over and over and over again. And so yeah, it depends on your personal reasons for that. I think I always say, you know, the developer route in terms of jobs is the safer one by far. So I realize it's not always as black as white, like just do what you love. You know, you can't always just do what you love. You also have to plan something that's good in the market. So it's complicated. What do I like to do? Romeo, in my extra time that doesn't involve technology. During ski season, I ski or snowboard twice a week. I play a lot of video games. I mean, not that much. When I was a kid, when I was growing up, I played a lot. I'm talking like 8 hours a day type of stuff. I watched a lot of YouTube, fighting games on YouTube, snowboarding, skis on YouTube, Donkey, video game Donkey. I definitely spend a lot of time with kids too. So there we go. Cheers, Natasha. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Nikolai, what would you say is the minimum amount of time you should stay at the same company so it doesn't look like you're constantly jumping? Oh man, you guys are asking great questions tonight. Oh man, I love this stuff so much. How long should you stay at a company? All right. If you want to maximize your career and your finances, you basically want to change jobs every 2 years. Because every time you change jobs, you're going to get a raise, especially in the Salesforce world. You're going to get at least a 10% raise. And you're going to be in an environment where you have to learn new things and get a lot more experience. So changing jobs is a good thing. I would say the minimum amount of time is 1.5 years. Because then you can kind of like round up and be like, yeah, I worked there 2 years. At some point in your career, you want to stop doing this though. At some point in your career, changing jobs will no longer increase your pay that much. It'll just bring you stress. That time of your career comes about when you want to become a manager or just like a tech lead type of person. Because those types of positions, the relationships become a lot more important. And so when you feel like that's like where you want to pivot to, then that's when you stay at a company. All right, let's keep going. Dimitri, all caps. How important, it worked. How important are the badges and the points within Trailhead? I like seeing on a resume, someone being like, I'm a Trailhead Ranger. I don't think it's worth like a lot. Like it's probably worth, I don't know, 2 certifications, maybe less. I don't know. It's not a big one. It's kind of like just like icing on the cake, I'd say. Who's better, Hobbs or Shaw? I'm wearing the Fast and Furious shirt. I don't remember his name, but The Rock is one of my favorites of all time. I got this shirt for free at work, and I wear it all the time. So I think that's Hobbs. I don't know. Sorry. It's a great series though. Sahin, how's the career as a Salesforce tester in the long run? QA. To be honest, I don't really consider QA a good long-term career. Like, is it good enough to make a living? Yes. Is it what you want to be if you want to keep progressing and moving up the ladder? I don't know. I feel like it kind of caps out, to be honest. However, I've seen a lot of testers pivot into development, especially if they're doing QA automation and writing a lot of test scripts. test scripts using code. So that could be a thing to do. Testing in the QA world is not that big. Like maybe 10% of Salesforce teams, maybe even less, have even one QA person on it. I think that percentage will grow over time, but I don't think it'll ever be like on, regular engineering teams where they, okay, all right, people. Okay, no spamming, no spamming. Please, no spamming. Please, no spamming. Please, no spamming. The chat. Spamming will not increase your chances of getting your questions answered. It might decrease it. I'll be here for a while though, so I mean, if you hang on long enough, you'll probably get your question answered. Sam, I'm coming for you, Sam. All right, let's keep going. Naruto. How much of a pay increase should I watched a lot of anime when I was younger. How much of a pay increase, even recently, One Punch Man, how much of a pay increase should you ask for after you get a PD1 cert as a dev with 0 certs originally? I'd say it depends how much money you have right now and where you live. Yeah, like if you're making 100K and then you just got PD1, I don't think in the US, I don't think I'd like ask for a huge raise, especially if you only got, if that's your only cert. If you got PD2, that's when I'd ask for a raise from 100K in the US, because that's when you're getting a lot of job prospects. Here's what I would do if I were you though, to find the exact number. Make sure you go on LinkedIn, add all your certs on LinkedIn, respond to every recruiter, and ask them how much they're offering you. Then make a spreadsheet, have every single offer in that spreadsheet with their salary ranges, and then choose a number there, and that's the one you want to bring up to your boss to ask for an increase. I've personally done this myself, and it's one of the best ways to get a raise. So I think you'll get your answer there. Okay. Hitesh, is there any chance for a 40-year-old to get into Salesforce admin or dev space? No prior IT. Hitesh, I've seen 60-year-olds with no prior experience get in the developer space. You're young. You've got 20 years on them. Go for it, buddy. Go for it, bro. Romeo, I don't know what Chainsaw Man is. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to look it up, though. Keith, is release manager a good role in the Salesforce ecosystem? I always thought release management is one of the driest jobs, like the most boring type of jobs in the Salesforce world. I actually haven't even worked on a team that has one of those, so I can't say it's a good role. I only know of one team. So what you have to know about me is I consult for hundreds of different Salesforce teams, mostly in the Bay Area. Small teams, large teams, all that stuff. And of those hundreds of them, very, very few of them, less than 5, have any sort of release manager. So I would stay away from that. Especially, there's apps out there that help make releases easier too. So I think companies would rather pay for that than a release manager. Menachem, thank you for your super chat. In your experience, what makes a good developer, particularly a remote one? Any specific questions you ask in an interview, you can get technical. Communication skills is the biggest downside of remote developers are the communication skills. Also, like the time zone. Like I'm gonna assume like remote could be India, just because 90%, 60, 70% are in India. Like, if there was someone in India who was willing to work US times and have great communication skills, man, you'd knock it out of the park. What happens more these days is the US side bends. Like, people in the US would, just schedule meetings at 10 p.m. so they could speak to remote developers. And like, man, people hate that. So if there was a remote developer, it would be like, hey, I'll meet with you every day at 9 a.m. US time. Then you're instantly, just saying that instantly makes you 30% better than anyone else. in terms of technical stuff in an interview, um, uh, still the non-technical stuff comes to me as more important. For example, how do you deal with ambiguity? Like I wouldn't like the fact that I have to detail requirements very, very specific for a remote dev, only to find out, the next day that the requirements weren't good enough and they had to, guess on some stuff. Like being able to deal with ambiguity and make good judgment calls, I feel like is a huge plus for remote devs. So when I interview people, the interview is basically like a series of judgment calls just for me to get a feel for what they would do if, they were in an ambiguous situation and had no one to help them. So a good way to practice that is to just practice not taking requirements at face value, asking questions like, do you think it'd be better if we did this instead? And putting yourself in the shoes of the person on the other side really, really fanatically. All right. Hope that answers your question. In terms of technical stuff, stay up to date on your tech LWCs. You'll be good to go. Leonardo, Brazil, what is up? Companies look from professionals for other countries due to the fact that they tend to accept job offers with lower salaries. That's like that's the main reason for remote. Yes, is to get someone with lower salaries. But I haven't seen remote grow as fast as I thought in the Salesforce dev world. Of course, I'm biased based on, the companies I consult with, so I could be wrong. I see it a lot in consulting companies, which I don't work in. But yeah, that's the big one. And the specific number here is like a remote developer can be 4 times cheaper than an onshore developer. So as the manager of a team, I'm like, okay, would I rather have 1 developer here or 4 over there? And it kind of depends on, what I expect from my people. I tend to lean towards onshore still, but that's just me. I'm super biased here. Alex, can you please provide your opinion on Apex versus flows? When to avoid flows? I think if you're in a small org, flows are good because you're less likely to ever hit any sort of limit with it, or to have to expand it beyond what far beyond what you've initially built. When you're in a big company though, you almost cannot use flows just because you don't have the control you need to really, really fine tune the execution. This is even with, before save flows and stuff like that. When to avoid, I'm mostly talking about the auto launch type of stuff. Like in terms of like UIs, like I like using flows to make step-by-step wizards just because they're so much easier. But when to avoid flows, yeah, larger companies or things that you're building that you expect to scale. Love from Mars. Are Salesforce developer jobs in demand in the US? I was unable to find this answer. Huge demand. Huge demand. I said this in one of my videos. You'd be surprised how many Salesforce developers turn down mid-level jobs for $300,000 or more. Developers today, every day you're getting 5 messages on LinkedIn from recruiters begging you to apply for their jobs. There's a huge shortage. For some reason, a huge percentage of developers are all asking for visas too. So if you don't need a visa and you are a developer, then you're basically like, that's like prime rib right there. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. I have a lot of jobs there. Siva from India, what's up? Sam, all right, Sam, I'm going to answer one of your questions. Will you ever open up your own consultancy? No, in terms of, I don't want to talk too much about myself, but like where I am in my head, I'm really lucky. I have a good job at Google that I really enjoy, and that pays all my bills, and then some. So that's good. So everything I do outside of Google, I basically do for fun. One of my next videos I'm going to release is how much money I make outside of Google on YouTube. So that should be interesting. I'll give you a hint. It's almost nothing. But I do it for fun. I mean, I'm doing this live chat for fun too. It's It's because also I think one day I hope I look back when I'm old and I'd be like, you know what, I did good stuff. I really enjoyed it. So yep, that is me. John Harry, what was my journey to becoming a Salesforce MVP? A lot of people won't say this. And if Salesforce heard this, they'd get mad at me. But I had a specific goal of becoming a Salesforce MVP. I know it's not right, but that was my goal. I'm a very goal-oriented person, which is also why I want to get, 100,000 subscribers and, X number of certifications, all this stuff. So I did a lot of things what I did was I looked at what other MVPs were doing and I copied them. So I saw a lot of other MVPs answered a lot of questions on the Trailblazer community. And so I answered 4,000 questions on the Trailblazer community. I saw a lot of them were user group leaders, so I became more active in my user groups. Some of them had blogs, so I created my own blog. Well, I created my blog actually unrelated to MVP, but I ended up contributing a lot towards it. I also begged people to nominate me to be an MVP. So it worked for me. I'm an 8-time MVP. I mean, nowadays I'm not as gung-ho about, I got to get that next MVP. But nowadays I just do it all for fun, so it's all good. Nikolai, thoughts on the new design of the community? Reddit absolutely loads it and hates it too, to be honest. Everything is harder to find, including answers, which I recently started engaging in. Actually, I don't even know what the new design is. I haven't even looked at it recently. Reddit, I tend to disagree with a lot of Reddit in general. I'm not talking about Salesforce because I'm not really familiar with the community there. But man, actually, in terms of all social media, and I include Reddit in that, like, I kind of stay away from it like the plague. So I don't know. Those places can be really toxic, at least for me. But my thoughts on it, I think with every UX change at any company, the initial thought is people hate it, and then eventually they come around to it. And so we're probably in that phase right now. And this is true every time. If you look at Google logo, every time the Google logo is changed, like that's always happened. And then when we look back, we're like, it was actually a good idea to do that. All right. Thank you. Clay, I love how honest this man. Thank you. I feel like this is a topic I do want to talk about. I feel like I have to be honest about these things, because if I'm not honest about it, then who will be honest about it? Like, I'm lucky that like with my current job, I could afford to like lose my Salesforce MVP, for example, which I actually assume will happen one day, because sometimes I say controversial things about Salesforce. And then, the next day I'll get an email from a Salesforce VP being like, hey, what's up? And this has happened a few times, not just on YouTube, but elsewhere. Plus, I assume if I made a video titled how I got kicked out of the Salesforce MVP program, I'd get a decent amount of subscribers from it. So it's all good. That's another topic though. Anytime you have tragedy in your career, anytime a bad thing happens, try to find the good in it, right? So if I got kicked out of the Salesforce MVP program, that would generally be a very, very bad thing. However, the way to flip that around is, I'd make a YouTube video on it and get, an extra 30 subscribers. So at least I'd have that going for me. All right, Guinness number 1 done. Let's move on to number 2. Let's keep going. Phoenix Nova. I was working in Velocity, but I faced many problems in it. Any difference in pay? I'm gonna make this one bigger because I get a lot of questions regarding Velocity. Like, what's the best Salesforce space to be in these days? You have generic admin, you have developer, then you have CPQ, you have Velocity, you have Tableau, you have Marketing Cloud, and all these other kind of like sub industries of Salesforce. Which one's the best one to be in? I've probably heard the most hype from Velocity and Marketing Cloud. So I'd probably go there personally. I don't know a lot about them. I've never used Velocity. I've used a little bit of Marketing Cloud. So those feel good. However, Marketing Cloud, I used to be a professional email spammer, which is essentially what Marketing Cloud is. And that was like a low point in my life because all you're doing is you're sending out spam emails that people don't want to see. Like, do you want that on your conscience at the end of the day? Like, I would get emails back where people would just write F you for 10 pages, you know, like you don't really want that on your conscience. So I'd say velocity. Irish, 27 years old, SQL dev, transition in Salesforce development. It's interesting. So two things that stand out with your should I transition into Salesforce development? Two things that stand out is one, you already have technical skills in SQL. Now, SQL is not as technical as Salesforce and general backend coding, but it's a step. The second thing you mentioned is you're 27 years old, which is relatively young. The younger you are, the less I would suggest Salesforce, because it's like when you're investing money. The more time you have, the more gambles you want to make. You don't want to play it safe and invest in something like that's not going to move a lot. You want to invest in something that can go 1000x or it can go to 0, which is fine because you're young, you can kind of survive it. So it also depends where you are in your career as well. And, you know, if you just want to make average money or you want to make a lot of money. Should you transition though to Salesforce development? If I had to give you a short answer, I would say, yeah, totally. It's super hot right now. Ride the wave and then bounce when it's getting done. Thank you, Matthew, for your kind words. You always have a lot of kind words. I really appreciate it. Swagata, thank you for your super chat. Bam. Do you think devs should be identified with a managed package like CPQ or Velocity? It's hot but pretty volatile. Yeah, I think your analysis is spot on. I mean, the dev world is so hot right now. There's really no reason why you should pigeonhole yourself to a specific package. In fact, you could arguably say that Salesforce development, you're already pigeonholing yourself in the Salesforce industry. So you don't want to take that down another level. It's too risky. But because the Salesforce industry is so hot right now for devs, it's safe to pigeonhole yourself in that. It's safe for at least the next 5-10 years. So yeah, don't do CPQ or Velocity. If my son was 30 years old and he asked me the same question, I would tell him, do not go deep into CPQ or Velocity. Stay generic. Go LWCs. You know, go integrations. Danny, do I prefer using a Mac or PC? I use Linux. I use a Chromebook for my coding, but I don't do a lot of coding these days. But if I had to choose and I was a full-fledged Salesforce developer, I go Mac. My entire team's on Mac. They all prefer it. You could buy a lot of Guinness with these donations. You know, the donations are not in US dollars, so I actually don't really know what they are. But so if you've given me a huge donation, thank you. And if not, thank you also. I mean, the fact that you even donate anything is pretty big, and I realize for some people, you know, $5 US could mean a lot more to some people than others. So I really appreciate it. In fact, the biggest thing I appreciate actually today is the fact that you're all here with me on a Saturday night. You know, that's the best. I love all of you, and I wish everyone here the most success, which is why we're here, because I'm trying to give you all the tips you can have to maximize your success. Let's keep going. Everyone says, Libor, everyone says you can get a good job in Salesforce without a degree, but all those people saying that have some sort of a degree. What's your opinion? I I have a degree, and I don't think you need a degree. So sorry about that. I'm one of those people. Top tier tech companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they don't care about your degree. I'll look at it on a resume, but I won't put much stock into it. Like on a scale of, 0 to 100, how much does a degree matter? Does having one matter? I don't know, maybe like 10 out of 100. If you have a good degree though, it can really help you. Like if you went to Stanford for computer science, I'm like, all right, this is an automatic interview. But like if you went to an average college versus going to no college, it's really not that big of a deal. In fact, most colleges I see on a resume I've never even heard of. I don't even know if they're good or bad. So like, how does that compare to someone with no degree? It's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you spent those 4 years doing something productive instead, or even like in your career, you did something productive, that's a lot more important. However, what I've noticed with people that don't have degrees is it it becomes this chip on their shoulder. They're always thinking about it, even though in reality it doesn't matter as much to them. I feel the same way as a self-taught developer. It's always this chip on a shoulder. I'm not a real developer. I'm self-taught. And so it takes a lot of time to get over that. But I'll tell you from the other side, you know, especially at top tier tech companies, we really don't care. Thank you all. All right, let's keep going. Danny, Sunday, 11 a.m. Nice. Love your content. Tracy, I remember you sent me a nice message sometime. I'm going to answer your question. Tracy Kiet. Love your content and the energy you bring. Thank you, Tracy. I'm looking at PD1 or JavaScript as my next cert and wondering your thoughts. Oh, this is a great question. Definitely go PD1. So the industry is not really familiar with a JavaScript cert. It's too new. So like all these companies have programs into their job recruiting tool that like if platform developer 1 is on the resume, then you know highlight it. But they haven't programmed the same for JavaScript cert. So definitely get PD1 first. And then I would actually say get PD2 after that, then come back to JavaScript. JavaScript is like icing on the cake. PD1 and 2, those are core certs. So definitely black and white. Go PD1 and 2. Rishi, you scheduled your PD1 for tomorrow morning and you are here today. Respect. Oh, we got someone in Japan here? Nice. Nice. Minds, I hope you dominate the Salesforce industry in Japan. I really do. I love the Japanese Salesforce industry. I love Japan in general. I really hope you do great things there. Cheers for being here. I have little experience in sales and I compensate this with studying supervised Apex, but I feel rejected and recruiters stop answering to some messages. What can I do better? I'd say be really focused about what kind of jobs you're looking for first. You say Apex, and so I think it's dev, but I'm not totally sure. You compensate this with studying. Yeah, I consider myself not the smartest person, but one of the best people when it comes to preparation. Like, if you ever talk to me in person, you'd probably think I wasn't that smart. But if you give me time to really think about an answer, I can give you something decent. And that's how I feel about work and jobs and everything. So the fact that you say you compensate this with studying and preparation, like I have a lot of respect for that. It's hard for me to consult you without seeing exactly what you're doing, to be honest. One day, what I would really love to do is just like have this, just like this analysis of your job profile where like, you show me your resume, you show me your LinkedIn, we do like a mock interview, and then I could tell you exactly how to improve, because everyone's going to be really, really different here. Some people have, great resumes, horrible on interviews, and vice versa. I don't know exactly how I do that. So let's see what happens there, but sorry, Mario. 46-year-old Salesforce developer, Gerardo, Salesforce changed your life. Bam, respect. How do you get looked at for an interview with not much Salesforce experience? Everything I see, Shannon, requires 3 to 5 years experience minimum. So if you're not getting Salesforce interviews, that means your resume is bad. So you got to really improve your resume. I have a ton of videos on that, so definitely check out my resume videos. It also means your LinkedIn profile is not good, because your job search approach is two-pronged. One is stuff you apply to with your resume. 2 is recruiters reaching out to you. If you have no recruiters reaching out to you, you're too hard to find. Your LinkedIn is not ready. And so I would spend a lot of time on LinkedIn making it look really good. So 1 is resume, check out my videos. 2 is your LinkedIn. All right, let's keep going. Uday, what is the future of Salesforce developers as Salesforce is moving towards low no-code development? I've been in this industry for over 10 years now, which is pretty rare. I've seen how things have gone from like Salesforce developers don't exist. Like when I started Salesforce, the Salesforce developer industry was essentially non-existent. Everyone was an admin. And then over time, it's just changed. Now there's a lot, Now Salesforce development is a larger chunk of the pie. And Salesforce has always been a low no code platform. But the thing is, companies want to do so much with their Salesforce these days. It's not just like a spreadsheet. Like, they want to integrate everything into Salesforce. They want to have custom UIs. Like, all this is going to require code, no matter how good flows ever become. And a lot of admins don't even use flows either. Like, I see a lot more developers use flows than admins actually. So I'm not worried about the Salesforce developer industry personally. In the tech industry, you know, we hire 20 Salesforce developers for one admin. I don't even know if I'd ever hire another admin on my team. We have literally 0 admins on our team. But again, I'm in the tech industry. I'm biased. So I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah. However, if you're talking about a 20-year job outlook, I would worry about code, which is why I'm moving out of that myself. Deaf guy, how do you budget studying while working full-time, family with kids? I spend a lot of time with my family, so family always wins. But I was kind of lucky. Before I had family, I was gung-ho about my career and reached a decent level. So I got lucky there. I don't know what I do today. But generally, for every decision I make, I think, okay, if I was an old man and I looked back at my life, which decision would I have wished I had chosen? And that always answers the question for me. Luke, I'm CTA eligible. I saw the CTA in it. Caught my attention, but not sure I want to pursue it. I am an architect in my day job. Do I think it's worth it? Yes, go for it. Becoming a CTA, whether you pass or fail, even when you fail, I failed the CTA. I failed 9 out of 9. I paid $6,000. I failed 9 out of 9 domains. I learned more than that than I could have doing anything else. Go for it. And if you pass it, you're going to be like, all right, there's only 200 CTAs on the planet. I'm 201. Pay me my money. If you are CTA and you're getting paid less than $300,000 USD, you're probably not playing your cards right. Mia from Australia, what's up? Should I stick to Australian admin market or try for US and Canadian? I don't see a lot of Australian people going for American jobs. So it's hard for me to know because I don't really have that point of reference. I've been to Australia. I've been to Brisbane to a big Salesforce event there. I can't remember the exact name. Down Under Dreaming. And it seemed to be a pretty strong community there. I mean, it seems like, I feel like the answer to that is like, I don't know, you want to live in America or you want to live in Australia? Because the Australian market seems strong enough to me. I talked with a recruiter there and they seemed to be pretty hot. So yeah. All right, let's keep going. Yeah. Please do not spam. Appreciate everyone for saying that stuff, for helping moderate. Okay. All right. Phoenix Nova, do more certification add value to your CV? Yes, I have 18 certifications, and 18 provides a lot of value. At that point, people don't even care which certs you have. They just know you have 18 and they know you're a badass. So there's very few things you can do that give you better ROI than getting a certification. Has my YouTube channel caused any issues with my job? Not yet. It will one day. And not yet because no one watches my channel right now. I mean, not no one. I'm not saying it's like literally no one, but it's a relatively small channel. It is going to cause me problems, which is why I always talk about Google HR. But you know, if I got fired from my job because of my YouTube channel, then I'd make a YouTube video about it and it would get me 100 more subscribers. Then I'd go home and cry and think about all the mistakes I've made in my life. Libor, what is up? Thank you for the super chat. You said you wouldn't recommend Salesforce for younger people. Could you expand on that? Yeah, I view it as a stepping stone for a career without a degree. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go deep into this. This is a great question. Let's assume my kid was 18 years old or 20 years old. And he said he wanted to be in Salesforce. A part of me would die inside because I'd be like, I mean, you could have been the next Steve Jobs. You could have gone for something truly ambitious, but instead you chose Salesforce. And I would feel bad about that, honestly. So I feel like it's just such a safe bet, Salesforce now, that I'd want my kid to be more ambitious than that. Now, I live in a place of relative privilege. You know, it's very different. If I lived somewhere where like being a Salesforce, having a Salesforce job was like the best of the best, then, you know, I would say different about that. Is it a good stepping stone career? Certainly. It'd be great stepping stone into like general engineering, maybe product management. I don't know. It's not the best stepping stone career though, because it's focused on a single platform. So I cannot really wholeheartedly recommend Salesforce for young people, unfortunately. And I might lose my Salesforce MVP status for saying that. Yeah. Cheers, Will. Captain Sinbad messaged me once. He wanted to do a collab. I hope we do that sometime. Currently, am I managing devs and architects? Yes, sir. Yes, I am. Marcus, is learning Python useful for Salesforce? No, not really. I mean, like, is it helpful? Yes, but if you had to choose between learning Python and learning Salesforce specific stuff, I would learn Salesforce specific stuff. Python in general is a great language because a lot of AI is Python, so I highly recommend it. Brian, what's up? Her ransom boon. Thank you for your super chat. What are your thoughts or opinions on pivoting from Salesforce admin dev consultant to product management at Fang? Oh, that's a specific question. I know someone right now who just did that pivot in Fang. Someone I work very closely with. Former architect who pivoted. What are my thoughts? Make sure you're on a good Salesforce team that gets to work with other product managers. Like your Salesforce instance has to be important enough that you get some project management type of experience. I think product management in general is like a top tier job. Salesforce development is like a tier 3 job. Like in the hierarchy of Google, product manager is like number 1. Software engineer is number 1. Then there's like number 2 tier, number 3 tier, number 4 tier. Salesforce is somewhere in the middle. It's like relatively mid tier. I don't walk around Salesforce and I'm like, I don't walk around Google and feeling like a badass, basically. But if I was a product manager, that's the best. And I would make a lot more money as a product manager in my same job. So yes, pivot to product management. Product management is you're set for life. Like Salesforce, I've said in 20 years is going to be down. But if you're a product manager, you're set for life. So go for it. Now, how do you actually make that pivot? I feel like as an architect or a consultant, you make a lot of decisions like a product manager does. I would focus on building my relationships with other product managers on my projects, and then begging them for a job. Also, within top tier tech companies, they often have very specific programs for transitioning to become product managers. And so I would look into that too. Like at Google, I'm pretty sure anyone can transition to a product manager, whether they're a Salesforce developer or not. You just have to like follow all the steps. Mario, what's up, man? Thank you for your donation. It's in yellow. I don't know what yellow or green means. I can't afford to donate for every question, but I want you to know that I appreciate what you do. Thank you. I will get my dream job. Heck, it's 4 a.m. I'm watching your stream. I'm serious. Thank you, Mario. Thank you. You know, man, I love hearing that because I'm a pretty emotional guy. You know, if I read like a negative comment somewhere, and I get a lot of them on social media, it'll really bum me out. You can ask my wife. Like, it really bums me out. I try to pretend like it doesn't, but it really bums me out. And so sometimes I'm bummed out and someone sends me a nice message like you just did, Mario, and it changes my entire week. Yeah, I'm being very honest here. That's I really appreciate it. I'm gonna be old one day. I'm gonna look back and, I'll think about all the nice comments I get, and that's what'll make me feel good. So cheers, Mario. Okay. Tech from Singapore. I know you've asked a few questions. Siva, please don't spam, Siva. I started learning Salesforce in May 2021. Most demand for jobs are in the US. By the way, I'm gonna keep going here until there's less questions. Most demand jobs are in the US. Could you share your thoughts about the majority of Salesforce jobs? So I don't know too much specifics about the Singapore industry. I know one guy in Singapore, Johan, and I feel like if I wanted to get the answer to this question, I would go to all of the user groups in Singapore and get a feel for it. And I feel like consulting, you can be a consultant in any country and be successful just because you travel around and help other companies out. So, especially a country like Singapore, actually. So I'd say go to user groups, talk to Johan. He'll give you a perspective. He seems to be doing really well though. So, cheers, Mario. There we go. 2 people in Singapore. I'm not there too. So sick of consulting, Del J. After 3 months, I'm about to take a 60K salary cut to go back to 9. Del J, you would have no idea how much time I think about stuff like that. Like, that's the thing. Consultants, like, you learn a lot, you work your butt off, but it's so stressful. People don't appreciate you. I'm mean to the consultants I work with. I'm really not, but I'm in some ways, like, I'm not super happy with them all the time because I feel like they're like, I don't want them to show me up at work, like, it's like my competition. All that adds up to a really stressful job for you. So yeah, I specifically in my personal career have looked for jobs outside of consulting, and I know I will never go into consulting for that reason. I feel like you can still find a great paying job outside of consulting if you play your cards right, especially at larger companies. So, and you can also work 9 to 5. I work 9 to 5. Kelly Young, you're a product manager that's not in Salesforce, but you're in tech. But you want to join the Salesforce industry. I can't say I blame you because I know product manager job is tough, but it does seem like somewhat of a downgrade. However, if that's where your heart is, then that's where your heart is, right? What's the best role to start with Salesforce going to be? Definitely Salesforce admin. I look at product managers are probably the most well-balanced people, at any company. Like, they're great with people, they're great with technology, they're great with, the market trends, all that stuff. And so I feel like admin is more similar to that because a great admin is good at all that stuff too. So I would go down the admin route. You could theoretically from there go easily into consulting or something like that. Yeah. Rachel C, lots of conflicting advice out there. What's your view on building a resume after being a stay-at-home parent for 10 years? That's a great question. My wife's a stay-at-home parent. She theoretically would have to do this herself. I feel like every negative thing that happens to you, you must find a way to make it positive. And you can somehow find a way to change that as a positive. Like, what are all the positives that come out of being a stay-at-home parent? Like, you raised 2 kids, like, like, you nurtured something for a long time and built it into something great. Like, maybe you pivot like that on your resume. I've seen stay-at-home parents put on their resume that their stay-at-home parenting was like a job. Like, it's just like, you have, okay, I worked at company X, company Y, stay-at-home parents, and like, it looks just like a regular job. And if you write your responsibilities the right way, then you can make it, look like that too. And then mention how, like, as you transitioned out, you worked really hard on, getting back up to date with the technology. But the fundamental skills you built as a stay-at-home parent, I don't know, maybe you're a part of like the Parent Teachers Association or something like that, or like just things like that. Find something to grasp onto and turn it into a positive. Every negative I feel like can turn into positive. Like, you could tell me you went to jail, and if you position your resume the right way, you can make that into a positive. So You just got you got to think about it. I wish I could go deeper into that with you, Rachel. It's a great question. Wasted revolution. Is it worth it to take a pay cut from being a rev ops manager to becoming a junior dev? I'm not familiar with rev ops that much. I see it around, but I know it's a lot. Well, I think it's a lot smaller. Currently mid hundreds on the management track, but I like the dev route. It has a better cap. Yeah, I took a pay cut to be a developer. Don't regret it for a single second. Yeah, I would recommend it, especially if your heart is in a place where like you always wish you could code. Then do it. I would also say like, hopefully you've coded enough, at least practicing it at this point, to feel like you have an idea that you'd really enjoy it. Hope that helps. Matthew YJ Kim, thank you for your super chat. Woo, 20 bucks, good stuff. All right, bam. I'm gonna buy a lot more Guinness. You may not be the next Asian Elon Musk, but I consider you as the more subtle yet effective Asian. Hey, that's really nice, man. Hey, I really appreciate that. Thank you. I assume you're Asian too. Thank you. Yeah, that makes me feel good, and that's not just the alcohol talking. I'm gonna reflect on that one later. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. David, what course would you suggest me to pass the admin exam? I need to pass the exam next Friday. Raphael, if I had to pass the exam next Friday, here's what I would do. 1, I would take the exam tomorrow. I would spend the entire 2 hours thinking about all the questions that I don't know, and I would basically memorize them. Then I would take that as a set and study that for the next week and then pass it next Friday. Also, I take a lot of flashcards. I read a lot of flashcards, and anytime you get any flashcard wrong, I'd go deep onto it and keep going down that. Sogata, repeat customer. Thank you for your super chat. Thanks for believing in us, David. Offshore engineers have pretty bad work-life balance due to time zone stuff. No one wants to talk about it. Your take. I've never been offshore, so it's hard for me to really talk about, really understand how bad it is. But I feel like I feel bad for a lot of people offshore, either working offshore or trying to get a visa in the US. Like, I know it's such a broken system. It's hard for me to comment on this because I haven't done it personally. Like, a part of me wants to say like, I hope working as offshore you can make a decent amount of money to live, a decent life where you're at. But I don't know really what it is, if that's the case for you. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm sorry. I wish I had something better for you. Like, I'd tell you, find an onshore job for yourself, but that's not really realistic for everyone. So I imagine if I was working offshore, it'd be pretty stressful for me too. Maybe, here's what I would recommend. Maybe start your own business, like your own side hustle. Do something small. Like for me, like no matter how stressful, good or bad work is, like when I think of the stuff I do outside of work, it makes me feel better at the end of the day, even though it makes almost no money. Just like the fact that I feel like I'm taking in control of what I do, it makes me feel a lot better. So hope that helps you. All right. Anoop. Thank you for your super chat with no chat. Thank you. Anoop. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, Anoop. Ivan. Just wanted to thank you for your advice. It made a huge difference on my success rate. PD2. Good job, Ivan. PD2. That's the one certification that makes the biggest impact on your career. That's PD2. So you did it. You're over the hump. Bam. Anand, I work at Salesforce. Whew. Anytime I see someone work, a lot of people who work at Salesforce don't like a lot of my videos. So anytime I see someone work say they work at Salesforce. I'm like, ugh. What's the one feature that you want to see in Apex? I love your work and efforts to help the community motivate us to fix the platform. What do I want to see in Apex? Man. Oh man, I don't know why I'm struggling so hard to think of something with here. I feel like something should come up so quickly. Like in our team chat, we're constantly talking about all the things that frustrate us about Apex. I mean, governor limits, of course, is an easy one. Increase. I feel like it's weird. Technology has increased so much in the past 20 years, yet governor limits haven't changed a bit. Like that's kind of weird to me. I would say LWC get more base components. Yeah, I'd say like the speed of execution feels still a little bit slow to me. Yeah, hope that helps. If YouTube took off, would you quit to become a YouTuber? Romeo. I don't think I'd ever quit my career to do what I do on the side, because then I'd be reliant on it for money. Now, let's say I had enough money that I didn't need to work at Google anymore. Like if I moved out of California and I could retire, then I'd probably go full-time YouTube. Because then like there's some movie that talks about having like FU money and like just being able to like give the middle finger to everyone and speak your mind because you're not reliant on anyone. Like I don't have nearly that much money, but the fact that I don't rely on my YouTube revenue for anything kind of gives me that perspective. And that I don't care if I ever make a lot of money on YouTube. I just want 100 subscribers so I can get the plaque and put it back there somewhere. So yeah. Mario, should I get Salesforce certifications without being hired yet? Yes. Get at least 3. In Dublin. Yep, especially in Dublin. At least 3, buddy. Tech, am I feeling dizzy already? I ate a big dinner. I can drink a decent amount of alcohol, so I don't know. Do I look dizzy? I wish I had my 3rd Guinness here, actually. All right, let's keep going. Red N. I got a job as a Salesforce developer. Should I continue it or switch? I'm only 21 years old, man. Hey, earlier I said, if you're young, don't go for the Salesforce industry. That applies if you don't have a job yet. If you have a job in hand as a Salesforce developer and it's a decent job, then stick with it. Stick with it. You can, on the side, you can think of, find other things to like learn new technologies on the side, like AI, for example, but keep your job. Do not leave your job. Do not leave your job. Dennis, do you stream video games on Twitch? Nope. No one would want to watch me stream video games. Believe me, I'm so bad. I only play single player games. I'm so bad nowadays. I used to be a lot more competitive though. Jaluri, thank you. Thank you for your super chat. Do you think Salesforce developers get as much salary as any web developer? At Google, web developers get paid more than Salesforce developers. Also at Google, web developers get paid less than like back-end developers. If I had to choose between being a Salesforce developer and a web developer, I generally would say web developer. However, learning Salesforce development is about 100 times easier than being a web developer. And the technology is a lot more stable. Like there's new frameworks come out every day in web development. I imagine it to be so stressful. So for me, where I'm not the most technical person, I would choose Salesforce development because it has that balance of having a good salary while being relatively easier to do. If I was a lot smarter and more technical, I would go web development. Software engineer here in my late 30s, thinking about changing my career towards Salesforce for better work-life balance. Bam, I'm all about work-life balance. Salesforce dev in the near term and tech arc in long term. You got it. That's CRS 3710. Sounds like a great plan. Because you're already a software engineer, you're gonna have an easy time finding Salesforce jobs. For example, we have so much struggles finding Salesforce developers. We often just hire software engineers and teach them Salesforce development. So that's like, theoretically, that's you. And then moving technical architect. Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's great. Ivy Joe, what's the hardest part of being a Salesforce admin? So I started off my career as a Salesforce admin, and then I taught myself to code. The hardest part for me was knowing that I was limited in what I could build. Like my boss would say like, oh, we need to build this. And I'd be like, we have to code. We have to write code for that. And so that was a big struggle for me. But now that I'm older, like I feel like everyone's limited in one way or another. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. That was it for me. If I was to take the average admin, that would probably be their struggle too. Like how do you get put on the most interesting jobs or projects if you have limited technical ability? Like a lot of times with projects, they don't know how complicated the tech is going to be. So they have to play it safe and put a dev on it just because, you know, there's a possibility an admin cannot do it and they'd have to bring in the dev. So there we go. Matthew, if you had to start all over again in Salesforce, where would you start and strive to become? If I had to start all over again, I would. Okay, let's assume I have no like side stuff. Just talking about purely my 40-hour-a-week day job. I want to be a really good developer. I would rather be a really good developer than a technical architect. And I say this as someone who has been in all three. I feel like being a developer right now gives you more options. You can apply to theoretically every company. You make great money. And you have the flexibility to use your development skills to do a lot of things, I don't know, either on the job or personally. To be honest, I was never a really good Salesforce developer. I transitioned relatively quickly from developer to architect. So I feel like I never really maxed out that portion of my career. It'd be nice to do that, but I don't think I'm smart enough to do that anyways. So yeah, I think also I'd put hybrid admin dev up there too. Just because then I could work at small or medium companies. I have more fun working at small companies. So yeah, there we go. Is the Salesforce industry oversaturated? Mirzat. So I recently released a video saying it was becoming more saturated. And people just get so mad at me for saying this kind of stuff. I've been in the industry since almost 2009. That's like what, 12 years now? If you compare the industry then to now, back then, if you had the admin cert, if you had one certification, you were guaranteed like any job basically. I remember I got my first Salesforce developer job with one certification. And like, they thought I was such a badass for having a certification. Nowadays, one certification gets you nothing. So I don't think, there's no argument. It's definitely more saturated than before. Now, is it oversaturated right now? No, I think if you play your cards right, you can still have a great career and a great salary, especially compared to other industries. It's just more saturated than it was before. Okay, let's keep going. Anoop, what's up, Anoop? So you didn't. So last time you had an empty super chat. Because you want to ask about Marketing Cloud, but all right, now you're asking about what's the future of Marketing Cloud. I think Marketing Cloud is going to grow quite a lot. Just if I look at the companies I'm working with and how much interest there is in Marketing Cloud, it's rather high. And like combining, and every company is already using Salesforce. We might as well get Marketing Cloud to like close that loop. I think it'll be pretty good. I feel like from the people I know in Marketing Cloud, there's no shortage of jobs as well. So that's good. I do feel like the work in Marketing Cloud is maybe less fulfilling than general admin or dev work because it's so like email spam focused. Also, when markets turn bad, marketing teams are often the first teams that lose budget. I have a degree in marketing and I graduated in 2009, the height of the financial crisis. So, you know, these are things I worry about that's easy to forget nowadays, especially if you haven't lived through some of that stuff. Yeah, Retardo, I'm, please no spamming, sir. Please no spamming. How do you feel about the world of Salesforce consulting firms like Big Four, Accenture versus the niche smallers? Um, I'm not super pleased with the consulting work I see from the big four. You know, I haven't been super impressed with it. However, I've been very impressed with some of the smaller ones. But I feel like some companies just don't have the luxury to like, try out so many different consulting companies or interview all of them. So then the big four get a lot of the stuff. Yeah. Mirzat, your Bamel's friend. Vinay Bamel. Been too long since I talked to that. I gotta reach out to him. Love from Mars. What's your opinion about the work-life balance of a Salesforce developer? I think work-life balance is the same for developers, admins. Maybe not for architects, but if you play your cards right, you work 40 hours a week. I've worked 40 hours a week for the past 8 years. I do feel like there's some pressure to keep up with the technology, but I feel like you should be able to do that on the job if you position yourself right with your manager. Say like, look, I want to go to Dreamforce and I want you to pay for my hotel and everything, like you have to go through that fight. That's how I got my free ticket to Dreamforce actually. My manager wouldn't send me to Dreamforce. They wouldn't pay for all of it. So my company was too cheap. So I just emailed Mark Benioff, and then Mark Benioff gave me a ticket. I forwarded that to the CEO of my company and my manager, and they're like shit, this guy's not playing around. All right, go for it, go. So you have to really sell yourself there, and you can learn on the job and work 40 hours a week. However, just know that if other people are working 60 hours a week, they will eventually catch up and surpass you. Clay, what's up? Good seeing you here. Clay Gallardo. Let's see. When is it too late to get started in Salesforce? 44 years old, no technical background. I don't think it's too late yet to get started in Salesforce for you. If you ask me in 5 years, I'll probably tell you don't do it. But for now, if you're able to put in a good amount of time towards doing it, then I think you're not gonna regret it for sure. But just know that there's a decent amount of competition today. Try to position your background into your next job, and I think you'll be fine. Captain Sinbad, start a marketing cloud. Yep, he told me he wants to do a collab. Let's do it, Captain Sinbad. All right, let's keep going. Andrew Smith, graduating college. Congrats. CS minor. I want a more technical role and I'm scared about recruiting. Any advice? Andrew, you don't realize this now, but a new grad with a CS degree, minor or major, is like every company, it's like prime. Like every company wants that. You don't realize how valuable that is. So you have more leverage in this recruiting process than you think. Like I actually don't see a lot of CS degrees on the resumes I look at. It's relatively rare, which is surprising, right? I work at Google, we're hiring Salesforce developers. Relatively rare. So don't be scared. One thing you need to learn when you're young is like, it's okay to make mistakes. I was rejected by Google 10 times in a row. Got in on number 11. And like the younger you are, the more time you have to make mistakes, the more time you have to learn from them. Embrace it. Go in knowing that you're going to make mistakes and improve every time. You're going to be good to go, man. I believe in you, Andrew. Johnny Say, thank you for your kind words. 44, starting a consulting job. Congrats. I knew Java in 98. Should I learn Apex? Oh, totally. Totally. Java to Apex, you got this. Even 1998 Java. I knew 2009 Java, which is basically the same as Apex today, honestly. You got it. You're going to be great. Especially if the personality test says, you have that tech, that tech angle on you. You got this. Matthew, do you think it's worth it to learn Slack, Tableau, CRM, MuleSoft? Yeah, those are all D tier. Slack is F tier. I don't even know if there's like jobs for that. Tableau, I say C tier. I mean, I know plenty of people who are Tableau experts and they have good jobs, but Tableau CRM is a little bit different because that's more like Einstein Analytics, despite whatever marketing they say. Tableau CRM is not really ready for production. I say this as someone who has Tableau CRM deployed in production. I would be very hesitant to go down that path. MuleSoft, also, MuleSoft has a lot of competitors. So I wouldn't go MuleSoft either. So yeah, if I had to choose, I'd go Einstein AI, and not because Einstein is good, but just so I could get that AI in there. But that's only if I had to do one of these, D tier things. Brian, here ransom boom. Thanks for your kind words, man. PM at Apple. Hey, Brian, I might one day beg you for a job, Brian. I hope you hear this. Brian, here ransom boom. Might one day beg you for a job. Not even kidding. Cheers. PM at Apple. Holy shit. Good stuff. I'm gonna beg you for a job one day. All right, let's keep going. How do I get your free coding courses? As when I sign up, oh, email me, Andrew. My coding courses are free for anyone who watches any YouTube video of mine. Email me on my YouTube channel page. You'll be able to find my email somewhere. Email me, I'll hook you up. It's free for everybody. Because I don't want anyone to ever think that what I'm doing here is a conflict of interest. Like I'm saying something just to make money off of you. No. So just have my stuff for free. And don't feel bad for me about this too. I have a, decently high level job at Google. I make a decent amount of money. So it's all good here. Anil, what cert should I go for? I'm 21 and cannot afford to fail a single attempt. Oh crap, that changes things for you. Don't do admin. Admin is the hardest cert. You wouldn't believe it, but admin is super hard. So don't do it. Admin has the highest fail rate. Don't do it. PD1 maybe if you're a developer. App builder, good. Advanced admin, good. Ooh, if you can't fail a certain one, I feel like app builder is like one of the safest ones. Johnny. Cheers, Johnny. Thank you, man. That's a cute super chat. Thank you. Deepika. Salesforce admin jobs, are they less in India? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any Salesforce admin jobs in India. Well, at least offshore ones, because in the US. Mario, if you really do that one, can you give the LinkedIn and the CV review that? How would that look like? What are your plans? When I first started my YouTube channel, I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a Patreon and charge money for something like that. But it just like, I could never really bring myself to do it, because even if I charged a lot of money for this, like it still wouldn't feel good to me. Even if I charged like $1,000 for something like this, like, all right, like what would I do with $1,000? Like, I don't think I'd sleep any better at night with that money had I not do it. However, I also want to be able to help people. Like so I don't know if you have any ideas of how I should do this. Maybe I'll just do like a lottery or something. Make a video, submit it, and then whoever wins, you get it for free. I'll do a lottery, but you have to agree to make a YouTube video with me where we talk about it. Something like that, Yeah, because all right, here's my super selfish goal with this channel. I don't care if I make any money on it, but I do want 100,000 subscribers one day. That's it. So maybe I'll do a lottery. If you subscribe, I'll pick one person and then I'll review the resume. I don't know. Cheers, Johnny. Hey, Hamza, thank you. Thank you, Hamza. I appreciate it. Also, no super chat with nothing in it. No, with no chat. So cheers. If you have a question, I hope I can see it. Oh wait, there's your final year of data science in UK. Data science, good. Somehow I got into Pathfinder. I'm confused now whether I should do data science or get into Salesforce industry. You can still do both. As someone young like you, learn Salesforce, the admin side of it, while also doing a lot of stuff on Einstein AI, which has a lot of data science. Salesforce is good for data science because the data that comes out of Salesforce is essentially your training sets for AI, for data science. So like not only are you building the tables that you're eventually going to train, but then you can also train models using Einstein AI or whatever other technology you know of. So you can do both. I would probably spend 60% of my time on the Salesforce side, 40% on the AI side. How's an architect work-life balance, Dimitri, different compared to developers? Well, architects are tough because they have to be super technical, but they also have to do a lot of stuff like presentations to leads, working with other teams and like designing stuff and overseeing a lot of stuff. So I feel like the work-life balance is in general a lot different because like you kind of have to use a lot of your personal time to stay on top of technology, or you just eventually fall further and further out of technology. Like I'll say this, as an architect myself, like I never got deep into like LWCs and stuff like that, so I don't really personally really know how they work, and like I didn't spend my free time doing on that, learning it, and I didn't have time on the job to do it either. So like that's the challenge of it. um yeah, so it's tough because you're expected to still keep your skills up high. Alul, thank you for the super chat. Is as a Salesforce QA/BA, what certification do you recommend after admin? I have a great video on this. Which certification should you get? Where I kind of like rank them and make paths and how many certifications you should get. As a QA/BA person, though, BA is what stands out to me because there are kind of like BA like certs, like a lot of the consultant ones, Sales Cloud Consultant, Service Cloud Consultant. So if you're using those, I would index towards that. But I would also recommend the generic App Builder and Advanced Admin. You get them all. I mean, you get them all. They're all so similar. You'll find after you take them, they're all so similar. So you're good to go. Andrew, I think I answered your question about how to get the free coding courses. Go to my YouTube channel, about me page, and then you'll find my email. I'll hook you up. Promise. I will say that it takes me a long time to respond to emails. I basically only check my email once every week or 2 weeks. So I promise I'll respond. I respond to literally every message I get, unless it's an email begging me for a job at Google. Tejas Galsasi. Cheers. Thank you for your super chat. Apart from LWC and integration, what else is A/B tier? I assume you're talking on the dev side. Those are definitely up there. And I'm struggling to think of anything else. Like I would say having like great like communication type of skills and design skills. Like the next thing is kind of like pivoting yourself more towards the architect path. And so building great, I don't know, presentation skills, for example, is going to be huge there. You'll get more bang from the buck there than anything else. If I had to choose something technical, maybe like Heroku. I don't know. Just like, I feel like being able to like process something outside of Salesforce, like having skills outside of the Salesforce world at that point is going to be really strong. Mr. Moreno, thank you. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. Senior in college, MIS degree, but keep failing a class that consists of JavaScript and HTML. That sucks. I will connect with you on LinkedIn and ask for your coding courses. You got it, buddy. That's all yours. My coding courses don't talk about JavaScript, though. I'm sorry. It's all back-end stuff. But I think you'll find that the JavaScript in Salesforce world is a little bit easier than the JavaScript you have in college. Also, I failed my coding courses. I took some coding courses after college, and I failed some of them, like data structures, for example. But I still turned out to be a decent Salesforce dev. So don't feel bad. You can still do it. All right. Let's see. All right, so we're an hour 40 in. There's still a lot of people in this live stream. We have like 160 right now, and I definitely want to answer all your questions. But let's do this. Let's take a break. I'm gonna do a quick bathroom break. I'm gonna grab my third Guinness, and we'll keep going. Yeah. All right. So I'll be right back. Be right back. I'm gonna say hi to my wife too. All right, what's up, everyone? I'm back. I'm back. I got my third Guinness here. If you're sticking around, thank you. If you gotta leave, I'm not offended. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, my goal is to answer as many questions as possible, and so let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right, where should I begin? So many questions. What are the common mistakes, Triley, that you have seen in interviews at Google? One that comes to mind is it's funny. It's so rarely that it's a technical thing that comes to mind. The biggest one that comes to mind is like people have trouble explaining their thought process, whether they have the right answer or not. Like if someone gives me the wrong answer to a technical problem, but they explain their thought process in a way that makes sense to me, I'm thinking, okay, I can work with this person. Like this is workable. Like maybe just like their expectations are off, or like their like I didn't explain the scenario right. Like, but if I feel like they made good judgment calls to get to a wrong answer, that's fine. In terms of tech, where a lot of people fail is oftentimes there's no right answer to a question. I feel like if you're asking an interview question and there's only one right answer, it's maybe not the best question. So with good interview questions, there are often multiple right answers. And being able to identify the different answers, the different solutions, and explain why you chose one over the other is important. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's a question where like the answer could be like, all right, I make a master detail object or a lookup object, or a lookup relationship, or a formula field, you know? Like, first of all, you have to identify that you could do this in multiple ways. And then you could say, okay, I'd go master detail if security was more important, or I'd go formula if, you know, speed was more important. And then choose the best one based on your knowledge of the scenario. And you'll be like, okay, I'm going to actually go formula field, even though it's not, you know, the most scalable solution, it's the faster solution. And you mentioned earlier that, you know, time to market was very important, so I'm going to go that. So that's what I would do. I rarely see people go that deep in interviews, but that's essentially what we do on the job every day, right? We're on a whiteboard figuring out questions like these together. So if I get the feeling that you can do that, then you're good to go. Spivey, NC, consulting background. You want to get into Salesforce at 40 years old. I got a page on my site, sfdc99.com, a tab called Success Stories. You'll read all these stories, people in their 50s and 60s who got jobs starting from nothing. Is it hard? Yes, but 40 is not that old, honestly. 40 is not that old. You got this. I mean, if I said if you're younger, you should take more risks. If you're older, you should take less risk, I feel like. And Salesforce is less risk. So it's almost ideal at 40. I turned up the AC in this room because my camera often overheats. When my camera overheats, that's when we're going to end this session. But now I'm freaking freezing. All right, so I'm turning off the AC. Clay, how can I get it better at getting requirements? Oh, good question. What do you think about these guys who say for X amount of money they can help you get a Salesforce job? I'm not familiar with a lot of these programs. I don't. You'll be surprised. Someone who's like does a lot of Salesforce. I spend very little time reading, like watching like other Salesforce stuff on YouTube or in the community or all that stuff. So I'm not super familiar with it, but if they seem like they know what they're talking about, personally, I'd pay for it. Like if I offered a service where for $1,000, I'll help you get a job, like it's probably worth like 10,000, like it's probably worth like $100,000. Like you should do it if I did that. I never will do that. But like if I did it, like, oh man, like You would definitely get a job. It'd be easier than struggling yourself. So maybe there's other people out there that are like that. What was the first part? How do I get better at getting requirements? One thing I do is I do a lot of UX studies, which is like super rapid prototyping. So I don't have to commit to any development. And then with these prototypes, I'll find out very quickly if the requirements are going in the right way or not. Because they'll see the prototypes with the proposed flow, user journey. And they'll be like, this is way off. Then I know the requirements are bad. I don't think it specifically helps you get better requirements, but it definitely helps you translate the requirements better. And I try to take myself out of the equation of getting requirements, but so I'm not that good at that. That's a tough question. I wish I had a better answer for you. Honestly, on the job, I'm trying to figure that out myself. Matthew D, is there a particular type of company you recommend for better experience? You mentioned Big Four consultants didn't impress you. Which companies impress you regularly? Best way to get experience is working on a small team where you have high levels of ownership. You can own a project end to end, gathering requirements, building it, deploying it, and maintaining it for multiple years because with that body of time, you learn which decisions you make were good and which decisions were bad with scale. So if I wanted to get maximum experience, I joined a small to medium-sized company that was growing very, very quickly, where I'm the only Salesforce professional, or I'm one of the few Salesforce professionals. I think consulting can do that too if you join the right one. And consultants are so different across the board that like it's hard for me to like pick and choose one of them. But like one where you have that level of ownership and freedom, I feel is very important. And you might not get that at a Big Four, to be honest. You'd be too specialized. How would you see different cultures, Triley, at play in your role? Like how people communicate. Like, man, I work with so many different personalities, Try. Good and bad. Each one's different. Like I've been on teams at Google, within the same company, where one team is toxic and the other team is fantastic. It's the same company. And the culture is very, very important. Is it a culture where you have room to succeed and fail? That's good. Is it a culture where people are scared to say their opinion because someone might get mad at them or it would be frowned upon? That's bad. If you don't have that psychological safety, you got to move on. If you find yourself holding your tongue because you're scared to ask certain questions, you're probably in a bad culture. Sushil, I recently joined a boot camp of 3 months and they are promising a guaranteed job if I complete. I'll have both admin and dev 1 certs pass. Is this even a possibility? I'm not familiar with a lot of these boot camps. It could be true. It could not. I'm not sure. But if you're getting free training, that sounds like a good deal. That sounds like a great deal. Are you paying for it? Now, if you're paying for it, that's when I'd be more skeptical. I'd have to do more research on that. But to get admin and dev 1 certs in 3 months, that definitely sounds too good to be true. Is this a full-time boot camp? If it is, then maybe it's possible. And it also depends on the teachers. Like, are the teachers legit? Like, do they have a lot of cred in the industry? Sunkalp PMP. Do product manager profiles have a career in Salesforce? Yeah, I think they do. I mean, every project I work in has some sort of project manager on it. So yeah. The skill set beyond project management, a good one is just admin skill set. It's always bad working with a project manager who has no idea what is possible or not in Salesforce. And so you have a lot of unproductive conversations where like they're just asking if this is possible, if that is possible. Ends up wasting everyone's time. To have admin cert or advanced admin cert shows that you're at least interested in reducing that friction. So I think that's good. Suvik, how much of data structures, algorithms, and system designs do you need for a Salesforce developer in Google or Amazon? In Google and Amazon at tech companies is very important. Not because you're going to use it at the job, but I guarantee the interview is going to ask for it, which is a shame. It's a damn shame because you'll never use it on the job. So that's that. Just learn enough to pass the interview, then forget it. Ethan Wilson, I just got a job with Reviture as a Salesforce developer. Congrats. What have I got myself into? You are very lucky, first of all. I enjoy programming and familiar front and back end. How do these skills cross? Oh yeah, you enjoy programming? You're gonna have a great time. Every Salesforce developer does front end and back end code. Whereas in general software engineering, people generally focus on one or the other. In Salesforce, they do both. Like always do both. So because you're familiar with both, you're in the right spot. Go get some money. If you're getting paid less, if you do this and after a few years you're getting paid less than 150K, then start asking for a raise. Dimitri, would transitioning from a SharePoint environment assistant getting a... I used to be a SharePoint admin. My very first internship, I was a SharePoint admin. Will it help Salesforce job? Yeah, I think if you position it the right way, you can say, hey, admin SharePoint is similar to adminning Salesforce. You know, I have to talk to people. I have to learn the technology. I have to train people. So, yeah, I think it could, but you have to position it the right way. Bang loves to hire from Big Four consulting companies. Yeah, I think when we work with a consultant and that consultant's good, we'll try to hire them. I'm not sure if I can legally say that or that we do it, but I see it happen all the time. Whew, all right, let's go. As a consultant manager, I introduce a lot of people to Salesforce. How would you start such a process? Trailhead is the obvious answer. That's what I introduce people to. I try to give them a specific trail just because there's so many to choose from. So maybe choose one in advance that has like, I don't know, a good couple hours of work and give it to them. Or send them my YouTube video, What is Salesforce? Shameless plug. Will cloud certs be a good foundation for Salesforce? Which cloud certs, Matthew? Talking about like AWS? Google Cloud? If so, I don't think they're a good foundation. I think they're useless. You're talking about like Sales Cloud Consultant, Service Cloud Consultant? Yeah, those are great. Scope for Einstein Analytics in Google. Srikanth. I wish I could tell you, but I can't. Can't talk too specific about my job. I wouldn't mind, like, I'd survive if I got kicked out of like a Salesforce MVP or something. But if I lost my job at Google, man, that would really hurt. Then I'd have to beg that other gentleman earlier for his job, for a job at Apple. Speaking of that, I need to make a note who that was, just in case I really do need to beg him for a job, or her. Can you learn LWC without knowing Aura? Yes. Yes, you can. Skip Aura. Nishant, I have an interview in Google for an application engineer. What type of questions can I expect? I might interview you, so I can't answer that question. A good interview will be one that you cannot prepare for. I don't know if mine is good or not, but I try to ask things in such a way that you cannot prepare for. No amount of studying will help you, only experience. So my advice for you is work hard on your job to build that experience. Nibs Cow. While getting started in Salesforce, how do you get over the imposter syndrome? I consider myself someone with imposter syndrome now, and that's always something weird to say, especially someone in my position, but it's something I think about quite often. How do I get over it? I don't get over it. I still wake up every day and I'd be like, you know, I don't deserve whatever I have. One thing that has helped me was get certifications, because I've always been like, oh, I've never been a good coder. And so I'd always have that chip on my shoulder. But when I passed PD2, back then it was called Advanced Developer. But when I passed that, I was like, okay, maybe I actually do deserve that. I'm actually a decent programmer. Ragav, your company uses Informatica and MuleSoft for integrations, so you don't have integration experience. That sucks. You should. How do you suggest I get better exposure? I've never used Informatica and MuleSoft, but I know they abstract a lot of the stuff from you. I feel like choosing the right API is half the battle, and authentication. Like if you understand those concepts well, then I feel like that's enough, honestly, as an architect. Just being able to choose the right integration pattern and the authentication method, and then leave the details to the developers. There's some great Salesforce articles on this where they talk about integration patterns, like fire and forget. And I can't remember, but there's some fancy names. Some fancy names you can throw out. You can name drop on your projects. Dimitri, is the admin cert the best cert to start when getting your first? Admin cert is near worthless, Dimitri. Everyone and their mom has the admin cert. And it's also the hardest cert to get, in my opinion. Getting the admin cert does nothing for you except, all right, you are a part of the Salesforce industry. You need at least 3 certs, I feel like. 3 certs and your resume is entry level. 5 certs and your resume stands out a little bit. I know it's broken that you have to get so many certs, but that's the way to go. Make a video on how you got into Google. See, once I get fired from Google for my YouTube stuff, I'm going to make all these videos on how to be successful at Google. Until then, I'm scared to talk too much about it because I really don't want to get fired. How would you interview a Salesforce developer with 2 years of experience? Try Lee. Curious about interviewing process at Fang. How many rounds? Can't go too deep into this. It's a great question, though. I wish I could because it's a very interesting one. The less experience I have, the less experience someone has, the more I would guide them through the interview process and have, like, the more experience they have, the more open-ended the questions will be. The less experience they have, the more maybe technical or more specific the questions would be. Cheers, Ben. Serafino, you often say that Salesforce has no real competitors, but isn't HubSpot a worthy opponent? You know, HubSpot's a name I've been seeing come up more and more and more. Maybe it is a worthy opponent these days. If I had to choose a second place, though, I would choose Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics. But the thing is, like, Microsoft gives that away for free, so it's hard to tell if it's really a competitor. HubSpot is one I see a lot just in YouTube comments and in social media, people asking me about it. I don't know if it's like as good as Salesforce. Like, I know HubSpot wasn't originally really a CRM and they kind of pivoted towards it. So my personal opinion is no company existing today is what's going to be the company that takes out Salesforce. It has to be a radical new technology. The reason why Salesforce came in and dominated was because Salesforce, like, they focused on the cloud where everyone else didn't, right? It was like a huge technology jump. So right now, what's the next technology jump? Is it AI? I don't know. So if there's an AI specific CRM coming up, I'd be more worried than that than an existing cloud CRM like HubSpot or Dynamics taking away Salesforce. My mic is only playing on your left ear. Oh, someone else mentioned that earlier. I don't know why. Maybe am I talking? You know what? It's because I'm talking on it sideways. If I talk on it like this, maybe it sounds better. I'm sorry about that. Anant Shiva, thank you very much. What cert should you go for? Appreciate your super chat. What cert should you go for then to get started in a Salesforce career, if not the admin cert? Well, you do start with the admin cert. You do start. That is the first one you get, just because it opens up other certs to take, and it's a prerequisite. It's just like you just can't get the admin cert and stop. So yeah. Hopefully I answered your question there. Have I used Avani? Avani app is the best, Matt Jess. I was working on a YouTube video just for Avani. They don't even know I'm making it, or they're not even paying me. Like, it's so good, I want to make a video on it. All right, we're 2 hours into this, and like, we still have basically just as many viewers as we had when we started, which is good. I feel like it's good. I guess you guys are getting value on this. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm going to keep going because it's not really slowing down. And maybe it's in a better time zone for a lot of you guys right now. So let's go. Is search from another institute, are they worth it, or do you need to get it from Trailhead? I'm not sure what other institute you're talking about, Raj. I don't even think certs come from Trailhead itself. Well, some of them, the super badge part, yes. So yeah, yeah, just get the official Salesforce ones. All right, let's keep going. Africa, Kiki. What's up, Kiki? You're transitioning to becoming Salesforce certified last year until you're hit with 3 auto. I'm sorry. Trying to heal gradually before returning study. Anything soft in tech I could do to pay bills? Ooh. What could you do in the meantime to pay bills while learning Salesforce? I don't know if there's going to be anything Salesforce specific that you could do, to be honest. There's no real, I feel like there's no really like short path into Salesforce. It's like a big jump into it. So I actually would recommend not Salesforce. I have no idea what it's like in Ghana, but like if I was in your position, I'd like be an Uber driver while learning Salesforce. Hitesh, how do you learn Salesforce? Do not see many points on your profile. Well, I have a lot of different Salesforce profiles, so not all the badges are on whatever my public one is. Just because I probably have like 100 different logins to Salesforce, so they're all spread out. But I actually don't do a ton of Trailhead. I do it like based on like if I need to learn a certain technology, then I'll take the Trailhead on it. But how do I learn? I learn a lot from the job and from my cowork. I learn probably the most from my coworkers. They'll learn something and they'll share it with me, and then I'll learn it from there. Ashok, how to get your paid courses for free? On my YouTube channel, about page, you'll find my email. I'll hook you up. Sid Tao, what's up, man? Good seeing you. You can help me with my audio only on the left. All right, I gotta ping you, Sid. Mario, I watched all your Apex Academy courses. Can you suggest some real world challenges? Yes. Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange. Look at all the questions there. Try to answer as many as you can. When you start, you'll see you can maybe only answer 1% of them, but at least you'll see how other people answer it and you'll learn. And eventually you'll be able to answer a lot more. That's what I would do if I were you. Thank you, Felipe. Appreciate it. Alexander, what is the best way to gain Salesforce skills as a new employee? I got my first task refactoring Oracle components, then unit tests and LWC. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think having the curiosity to see how things were built is going to be very important. As a new person, I would also index towards the newer technologies. The great thing about LWC is like, since it's so new, even experienced people don't have a lot of knowledge in it. So if you could pick it up, just as quickly as anyone else, and you could, very quickly be a leader in your company in that technology. So if I were you, I would go deep in the LWC path. Jonathan Gray, is a super badge equivalent to a cert? No. Maybe like 1/10 of a cert. I don't even see super badges typically put on resumes. Matt Jess, what would be a perfect Salesforce team in your opinion? How would you create it? How do you add people now? Our team right now is 100% developers. And the developers also do architecture. Is it the perfect one? No, but it works pretty well. And like theoretically anyone could execute on anything, which is kind of nice. If I owned my own company and I was building a Salesforce org and I needed to build a team, what would I do? It would definitely be developers. Business analysts, I'd feel is actually a really important one. So I'd have maybe one or two business analysts and a ton of devs. Architect, I don't know. I don't know if I really like the idea of hiring an architect. I feel like a good developer is like the same as an architect, but they could also execute on stuff. So that's me. A lot of questions about Reviture. No idea what Reviture is. I feel like I need to look that up after this. David, is there any entry-level, zero experience remote jobs at Salesforce? There's a lot of entry-level. Well, there's not a lot, but there are entry-level jobs, yes. They're harder to find. Oftentimes what companies will do instead of hiring an entry-level person is they'll just take someone internally and transition them into it. So it's harder to find these entry-level jobs in the Salesforce world. They're there, but it's just quite competitive these days, Felipe. Suncal, what are the best clouds to learn after Sales and Service Cloud? Best way to learn financial service? There's a financial services cloud. There's too many clouds these days. That's why I kind of like keeping it generic in Salesforce. It gives you the most options. So I feel like Sales and Service Cloud are pretty generic just because so many orgs use it. So maybe that's good enough. Are there any ways to start as a freelancer in Salesforce without payment? I've heard of people doing this kind of stuff on like Fiverr and stuff with super low rates. So maybe you could do that. I feel like Stack Exchange is good too, because then you built an online reputation and like people upvote and downvote you. So you see what you get. All right, let's keep going. Please no Reviture. I'm so curious what Reviture is now. Shri, hey David, big fan here. Never stop making. Thank you, Shri. I have a list of all the YouTube videos I want to make. That list is 300. And every video I come out with is not on the list. It's just something I wake up one day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And it's not already on the list. So no shortage of the things I want to do. Definitely have some ambitious plans on the YouTube channel. People probably don't want to hear this, but like I actually don't want to talk about too much Salesforce on my YouTube channel. Right now, half my content is Salesforce specific. I hope in the long term that percentage goes down. But all my Salesforce videos get like 10 times more views than my non-Salesforce stuff. So it's so hard for me to not do it. What's the scope of Salesforce analytics, especially Salesforce Tableau? Salesforce analytics, in my opinion, Tableau CRM is not that good of a product, unfortunately. I don't know. I'd be hesitant to index too hard on that. Nosy 007. What's the route to the most money in the Salesforce ecosystem? Get 15 plus Salesforce certifications and be a developer. And then move to California. Salesforce developers in California, like they're all making at least 200K, at least. And I've said this before, there's plenty of developers turning down I know developers here making $400,000 to $500,000 as a Salesforce developer. It's not uncommon here in the Bay Area. Rare, but not uncommon. At these top tier tech companies, especially when the stock is doing well. What is a skill, Matthew D, you wish most developers would improve? Man, I tell this to my team all the time. Your technical skills is only half the job. The other half are your non-technical skills. Like innovation, leadership, like initiative. Like initiative itself is already a good one. Like if you see a problem, just trying to fix it or taking steps towards fixing it. Like that has nothing to do with development. However, it's like, it makes your development so much better. I'm working in Salesforce for 3 years, Shikar, onto the consultant road. Should I stay on the same path or start learning dev? If you enjoy what you're doing, stay on the same path. If you want to code, then of course, I definitely recommend coding. If you want to maximize your money, also coding too. But if you're like, if you don't like code and you don't like math and you've hated math, then I would not force myself to learn to code. Matthew D, thank you for your super chat. Thank you again, David. This was remarkably useful. Thanks, appreciate it. We're all lucky to have found your YouTube channel. Looking forward to taking your course. Cheers, Matthew. Thanks, man, I appreciate it. Great question from you tonight. Thanks for the super chat. Mamado, what's the cost of living in California? So one day on my YouTube channel, I want to talk a little bit more about living in Silicon Valley. I was really lucky. I was born and raised here, and I still live here. An average home around Google campus costs about $3 million. This would be a 4-bedroom home, 2-bath with I don't know, a 6,000 square foot lot, 2,000 square foot home. So quite expensive. Not even like a nice home too, just like an average home. So $3 million to afford a $3 million home here, you have to make about $500,000 a year for 30 years on your mortgage. Plus your property tax is going to be around 40 grand a year. So that's cost of living in California. Here you can make a decent money, but still feel like you're poor. You can work at Google and never be able to own a home. You'll never be able to afford it. So that's what it's like here. It's good and bad. The dream a lot of people have here is they make a Bay Area salary and they work remote or they move out. And then they live like a, king or a queen. Matt Jazz, what's the best way to manage an org that consists of standard solutions and a lot of custom code? Whew. We could spend a lot of time answering that question. That's a tough one. I feel like that's every org though. So, I remember before I joined Google, I was like, this org that I'm about to see is going to be the cleanest org I've ever seen in my life. Super messy. I've heard Salesforce themselves use Salesforce in a super messy way too. So there's no clean org out there. It's not possible. You just live with it. How much is a 2-bedroom rent per month? So rents here are about half of a mortgage. So if you're paying, so a mortgage on a 2-bedroom home might be like $6,000 a month. Maybe $7,000 a month. But the rent itself would be maybe only $4,000. And that's kind of weird. Usually the mortgage is cheaper than the rent. And here it's backwards. And the reason is because people anticipate property values to go a lot higher. I don't think that's the case, but that's how it is here. Romeo, would I ever live somewhere else other than Cali? That's my dream. I mean, Google lets us live remote. Like I don't live like a fancy life. Like I drive a minivan. Like I make good money, but because I live where I live, like we don't, we still use coupons. I'm not rich by any means. If I made my current money and I lived anywhere else in the US, I would like be eating steak every night. So, that's the dream, but my wife loves it here. So I'm going to continue to hustle for her. My family's here too. So that's my life. You don't need to feel bad for me though. I live a good life. It's all good. Yes, there's no clean. Can I go offline on a holiday or always have my head on the job? You find it Mario, find it difficult to work since I love my job and I'm always worried. I work 40 hours a week. I don't check my email after 5 p.m. Don't check my email before work either. Never check an email on the weekend. I do spend a lot of time stressing about it, about like all the stuff I do on YouTube though. I'm lucky though. I specifically searched out jobs where I didn't have to stress out as much. The larger the company, the less I feel you need to stress out over these things, Mario. At smaller companies, you need to stress out more. So it's always surprising to people at Google that I can work 40 hours a week. Most people at Google work 40 hours a week. So, yeah. Jonathan Gray, a lot of middle management jobs do not add much value as compared to developers. Why do those jobs exist? It's a good question. I somewhat agree with you. Like, I don't think managers add that much value. But companies always have them anyways. But yeah, tech companies, you can be a manager and make less money than developers. So it's not, there is some balance to it. I remember the first time I managed a team, like most people on the team were making more money than me. I was like, why am I even here then? They're smarter than me. I don't know. I still had my job though. Tanvir, don't stop your YouTube videos. Thank you. Appreciate it. I like hearing that because I spend a lot of time on YouTube. And as you'll see in my next video, I don't make any money on YouTube. Do I think what is the future of Salesforce Marketing Cloud? I used to be in marketing automation before Salesforce. And I was doing Marketo. I mean, it was a decent industry. I don't think it'll ever be like hugely massive, but I think Marketing Cloud is really positioning itself to be better than other marketing automation out there. So I think you'll have a good job. And if you want a relatively technical job in the marketing space, I don't think it gets better than that. Pearl. Oh, Pearl, you're here. What's up, Pearl? Depends on where in California. Yeah, that's right, Pearl. So I live around Google headquarters, which is like, I live in Palo Alto, but there's like Mountain View here, like, I don't know, Cupertino, Sunnyvale, that type of stuff. Prices for an average home range anywhere from 1.5 million to 3 million here. And I live, to be honest, I live in a nicer area of here, so that's why it's quite expensive here. Yep. Arjun Reddy, how much money do I make a month? That's a good question. I'm not going to answer that question, but I make good money. I make good money. Everyone who does Google at Salesforce, or everyone who does Salesforce at Google makes good money. Yeah, if I ever got fired from Google, maybe I'd talk about it. How's that beer working for me? I love my Guinness. This is my last Guinness, so I gotta milk it. My other hobbies, I ski and snowboard twice a week in ski season. I talked a little bit about this. I play video games here and there. I watch a lot of YouTube, not Salesforce YouTube, nothing career related, just like something I can tune out on, like Video Game Donkey. He's the man. He's the man. Is Salesforce QA a good role on the long-term basis? No. QA period, not really a good role in the long term. Salesforce QA, even worse. So get out of that, Bharat. Salesforce QA, no good. No dice. Morgan Hill, Thomas Jefferson, what's up? All right, good stuff. Not that far away at all. Is it true that a lot of Google employees live in trailers by their HQ? There is a secret society of Google employees who live in the Google parking lot. I mean, why not? You've got showers, you've got food, you've got everything at Google. Like every massages, doctors on site. So people live in cars. However, security doesn't let them. So they find ways around it, like moving their cars to certain areas. There's a secret society of Google employees that do that, and they're very secretive. So I don't want to reveal too much about it. But there's some rumors about it. It's true. I would love to do that or move out of here, but with kids now, not possible. Not possible for me. Why would Google use Salesforce? Can't it just develop something similar, easy to integrate with their software? This question comes up a lot to me, and it's something I've wondered too. Could Google do that? I believe Google probably could. Google actually is maybe not the best at enterprise software. Salesforce is pretty good at that. But like, Google, could they design their own desks and chairs? I'm sure they could do that too, but it's just easier to pay someone else to do it. I can go a lot deeper into this, but I get fired. Does being an ISV a good career? Sogata, can someone do ISV as a side hustle? Yeah, I think it's a great career because it teaches you how to build more generically and to think more product oriented, which is something great on the job. So I would highly recommend it. Like, I wouldn't really like it as a primary job because I feel like the great ISVs eventually just get cannibalized by Salesforce themselves. So I don't feel like it's like super lucrative, but it's like something more on the fun side that's still in the Salesforce world. Pearl Lee, what do you think about the UX designer cert? Relevant for positioning me? Because it's a relatively new cert, Pearl, I don't feel like it's that powerful. Just like companies haven't necessarily adapted to it and they're not necessarily looking for it on resumes. So it's more like a nice to have. It could be longer term, But I think you'll get more bang for the buck if you're looking for functional consultants. Like Sales Cloud Consultant, for example, will give you a lot more bang for the buck than UX designer. Mario, working 50 hours a week. How long would it take to get PD1 while working? Assuming you don't know how to write any code, I'd say 3 to 6 months. I'd say. Wait, working 50 hours a week studying towards it? I mean, if that's the case, I think you can do it in less than a month. Anon, thank you. Yes, you're right. I did answer your question, Kiki. So when I post this replay, this is gonna take me a long time to do, but I'm gonna put chapters for every single question, so you can skip to it. You won't have to do it yourself. I did that last time. I like putting chapters on my YouTube videos. What they do is it lets you skip towards like just the content you want. I think it hurts my metrics because people end up watching less, but I feel like I like watching other YouTube videos with it, so I'm gonna do it too. Jonathan Gray, why isn't Salesforce cracking down hard on people using dumps? It's such a hard problem for them. I think they've given up on it. Like, how do you actually know if someone's using dumps? I don't think you can. And then I've heard nowadays that the way people cheat is they'll get someone else to take the test for them, which is like even crazier, you know? That's like another level of cheating. So I don't know. I don't think Salesforce can really solve the problem. I feel like what they're doing is they're moving more of certifications outside of that criterion and more into Trailhead, which I think is better because people are more likely to like at least take them themselves, especially with the maintenance exams. Because man, it was so in the past, it was so tempting to cheat on them when it was just the multiple choice questions that were so difficult. But now that it's just in Trailhead and you have like unlimited takes, yeah, there you go. Would Google buy Salesforce? I hope not, because it's a different culture. I don't think the two cultures would work nicely with each other. So yeah. Shiv. Oh, snap. Shiv, what's going on, man? Thanks for the super chat. That looks like a big number. I'm Googling what that is. Holy crap. I know you have a lot of money, Shiv, so that might be a lot of money. Thanks, Shiv. If you guys don't know, Shiv and I go way back. We became MVPs at the same time. We're like we're really active on the Salesforce community. So yeah. Cheers, Shiv. Cheers, Pearl. Shiv, what are you doing here, man? This Shiv is like a badass now, wasting his time with me here. You got better things to do, bro. But no, I'm so glad to see you, Shiv. Thanks for being here. Mario, no, sorry. I work 50 hours a week and I'm studying on the side, learning to code. Ooh, that's harder. I mean, PD1, if you took a very focused approach to PD1, like if you had unlimited money, then I would approach PD1 differently than if you had limited money. Because if you have unlimited money and you can like fail the certification multiple times and still survive, I would kind of go that route because you learn more from failing the certification than you do from studying random stuff. So I'd fail it, retake it, fail it, and each time like just really focus on the parts that I did poorly on, and then I would ultimately pass the cert quickly. However, so it would cost more money to pass it quickly. All right, let's keep going. All right, I thought that maybe over time, the number of people here would dwindle less, so I could get to some more questions. But concurrent viewers is basically stayed flat for 2.5 hours. So that makes me even more happy actually, because I'm glad you guys are enjoying this, because I'm enjoying it too, people. Thanks for being here. All right, Vinny, let's do this. Came to Salesforce a few years ago. I stayed for you. Ooh, thank you. Your videos are so inspirational, even when I'm not directly involved with Salesforce. Hey, thanks, Vinny. Appreciate it. Yeah, that makes me feel good, because I spend a lot of time on this content, and I never really know if it's helpful, and sometimes I get a lot of negative flack about it, and it hurts my feelings. But it makes me feel good. All right, let's keep going. William Lee, is that my cousin? Bro, is that my cousin, William Lee? Is that you? Oh man, if you're here, thanks for being here, William. Let's go snowboarding this season. Bro, nice. All right, let's keep going. Thank you, Alejandra. Thanks for your kind words. You've been here the whole time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cheers, you too, Ben. John the Great, does working 40 hours only make you more susceptible on being replaced? Yes. Okay, before I had kids, I was working a lot more than 40 hours. Like sometimes the job would only be 40 hours, but then the studying I do on the side, like learning Salesforce, learning to code, that would add up to, 50, 60, 70 hours. And I feel like working smart is better than working hard, more hours. However, what I did was like, I feel like I worked smart and I worked hard. Like when I was working, like I wasn't just goofing off working 40 hours. I was like focused 40 hours plus another focused 20 hours on the side. And that really helped me catapult my career because it's like investing money. Like your money compounds over time in the bank. Like investing early is more important than investing more money later. So if you play the long game with your career and you work 10% harder than everyone else every day, all that eventually compounds and you become this super badass. So I think that's huge, Jonathan. Jaluri, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Do you think a CS grad will have good working experience in Salesforce? Because most of my peers think it is a niche development. Huh. Yeah, CS grads are super in demand for Salesforce. I mean, Salesforce developers are hot. I'd say half the Salesforce developers I work with do not have a CS degree. They're just self-taught, which is really surprising. However, they're like better than CS degrees a lot of the times. It's because coding in Salesforce is easier, to be honest. If I was smart enough to be a generic coder, I would be a generic coder, not in Salesforce. Because then you can work on like, the Google search algorithm. But because I'm less smart, Salesforce development is a lot easier, but with, similarly high pay. So it's in some ways it's a better path. Yeah, so the smarter you are, the less you should do Salesforce. And when I say smart, I mean like, if you're like top 10% smart, then you can think bigger. Thomas Jefferson in Morgan Hill, 21, unemployed in the Salesforce industry. 6 months ago, I had no idea. You're one of the people I learned a lot of stuff. You're sweet. Oh, you are employed, not unemployed. Bam! You did it in 6 months. I was a young kid in Morgan Hill. Cheers, man. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Here we go. TKT Louie, thank you for the super chat. David, love your work and enjoy your honest opinions. Thank you. From Australia, yeah. PSE with Tableau. I'm not sure what PSE is. Tableau will reach out to you, explore your journey in CRM and how to make it better. All right. Sweet. Find my email address on my YouTube channel. Happy to talk to you. I respond to 100% of the emails I get. So yeah, don't ever be afraid to email me. The reason I do that is because I mentioned I emailed Mark Benioff and he responded to me. So I'm like, all right, if Mark Benioff does it, I better do it too. Cheers, TKT Louie. Cheers in Australia. John in the Gray, a lot of Salesforce developers are located in India, but a lot of dev jobs are in the USA. What is your opinion about H-1B visas? There's so many H-1B visa developers right now. It is a broken system. And it's that way because there are so few Salesforce developer supply, especially like US citizen Salesforce developers. Thus, we have to go the visa route. I would say easily more than half people are in this position. So that's just how it is. DA Ledger. That's a name that's familiar to me. DA Ledger. What product gaps have you seen from Salesforce platform during your tenure at Google that would make for interesting? That's a good question. I have to reflect and think about this one. Shoot. What is there, man? Salesforce covers so much ground nowadays. Man, I was thinking like huge gaps of data, huge pieces of data, but Salesforce has stuff for that nowadays. Integrations, it's got integrations for everything. Heck, it's got Slack. It's got like even mail solutions, spreadsheet integrations. I'd say I don't know, a recruiting specific product I feel like would be big for Salesforce. I don't know. All right, I gotta move on. We got some super chats. Dimitri, bam, thanks for the super chat. Have you had any QA sessions before recorded? I've done a lot of QA sessions actually, but mostly for other events. This is only my second one on my channel. And yeah, so the first one I did was a resume review session. That's on my channel, and this is the second one. So this will be on the channel too. Hopefully I do more in the future. I hope so. I feel like I wait till there's a very interesting topic before I want to do a live session, because I never know how many people are going to join. For this session, like, yeah, I really didn't know. So I'm glad there's people here. I stressed all day. I was like, is anyone going to join this? And so it's good to see all here. Especially like I tweeted about this and like I didn't get many retweets or like likes. So I was like, all right, no one's joining. But you know, like I say in the past, like every failure, you have to look to it as an opportunity. Like if no one joined, then okay, maybe we'd be able to have like super deep conversations on very like specific topics. And there's pros and cons to everything. So never let yourself get down in failure. All right, Suvik Chakraborty, thank you for the super chat. Love all your videos. Your advice for someone with 8 to 10 years. Oh yes, I like hearing questions. So you are an advanced Salesforce person. What are the next steps? 8 to 10 years of Salesforce developer, and you want to take that next step. Architect is a good one, but honestly, you can make architect level salaries as a developer. At some point, it's just better to like join better companies, you know, like not necessarily join better roles. Like if you like what you're doing, then just like join a FANG company and keep doing the same thing that you're doing, and like you'll continue to move upwards that way. Now, if you want to move upwards as a role, architect is a good one, and it's kind of like the natural one after dev. Like going for like a CTA is like like if you got your CTA, then you'd be set. You're probably already set, to be honest. But getting that CTA is like, that's really the peak of the mountain here. So that's what I'd recommend for you. And developer, 90% of CTAs are basically people in your situation where they were former developers. They had a ton of experience, and now they're going CTA route. And then it doesn't, yeah, so that's what you got. CTA is a place to be. CMC Alpine, great that you're jumping into management. Do you think your deep expertise will help you make the transition? Yes. Have I worked with managers with less technical? Yes. Basically, every manager I've ever had, almost every one of them had minimal to no technical skills. And certainly not more than me. Well, some of them were very technical actually, but probably not more than me. I think that's normal, to be honest. I do feel like for me, having the technical skills helps because I understand the challenges people go through. Like here's something that I feel like only developers really understand. Like context switching is so painful. Like, and having like a meeting in the middle of the day is worse than having a meeting in like the beginning or end, basically, because you have to change context. And it takes some time to ramp up like your mind to really start coding. And so like I feel like having an awareness of this, and maybe having previous managers with awareness of these types of things have always been good. That said, an effective manager for me, I would have never expected them to contribute technically to me. Maybe what would be more important is like if they encouraged me to take certain technical classes, that would have a bigger impact on me than my manager being technical. So I've never felt like my manager needed to be more technical than me or even technical at all. I feel like it's the non-technical stuff that makes the biggest deal. And especially if they were like mean to me, that'd be the worst, you know? All right, sweet. Let's keep going. Tejas, can you please share how you reinvent yourself as the Salesforce ecosystem evolves? From Marcus Miller, CTA, Certified Technical Architect. Okay, how do I reinvent myself as the Salesforce ecosystem evolves? I mean, for me personally, I've always reinvented myself outside of the Salesforce world, kind of. Like, I consider my website a reinvention. It has nothing to do with Salesforce. Well, I mean, it has nothing to do with technical skills. And this YouTube channel is kind of reinventing myself. It's building on my soft skills. So, and it's more generic than Salesforce. It protects me a little bit more than being invested in one technology. That, and if you do want to stay in the ecosystem, then definitely like, you know, read all the release notes and that types of stuff to stay up to date. Like if you want to stay relevant in Salesforce today as a developer and you don't know LWCs, you are behind the curve. That's an example. Super chat, Shiv. Bam. Oh man, Shiv. Number 2. What are your thoughts about experienced developers also are learning other technology? Yes, like React. Yes. I think that's smart. If I was a better developer, that's what I would do too. You don't want all your eggs in the Salesforce basket. It's just too risky long term. In the short term, you're good. But it just like gives you like, it just improves your arsenal of things that you can do, you know, like, and then like maybe one day you want to get out of the Salesforce industry. Well, having that React experience, really good. Also on your resume, even if you're applying for Salesforce jobs, just saying you have React experience is great. Because then like when I'm reading that, I'm like, okay, this guy takes front end seriously, you know, and that's always a good thing. So yeah. Also when developers focus too much on Salesforce, or like all the code they know is only on the Salesforce stack, that can be bad when sometimes you need work outside the stack. Like let's say you want to make a CI/CD process, DevOps process. Like you're probably going to have to write code outside of Salesforce and this person's going to feel really out of place. So I always like seeing people branching out. All right. Tamil Sev, thank you. Tamil Selvi, thank you very much for your super chat. Appreciate it. Transitioning from admin to dev, bam. What's your advice to new devs? Learn LWCs. Skip the older technology. Skip Visualforce. Skip Aura. Learn LWCs. Always focus on the newer stuff if you're transitioning. Definitely the backend stuff. Of course, Apex is good too. I would highlight your admin experience specifically on your jobs. You can say like, you know, you're great with flows, for example, which I think a lot of people looking for devs would think favorably of. Yes. I feel like there's a lot more I can add here. I'm struggling to think of anything right now. It's the third beer getting to me. There you go. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm sorry. Email me and if it's not satisfying to you, I'll get back to you on that. I'm just a 2-month-old to the Salesforce industry and fresher in Infosys. What advice will you give me? Got to climb the ranks of Infosys. How do you do that? I feel like, man, make your clients happy. Make your customers happy. Get them to write nice messages to your boss. The newer you are to something, the harder you have to work. Like when I think of the hardest times I've worked in my career, it's often when I join a new company and I'm new, you know, or a new industry. So right now is your grind period. You got to do it. Build a strong reputation. And then like, I feel like first impressions are unfortunately so important. So build a strong reputation and then work hard now and then it'll pay dividends. Felipe, is Salesforce here to stay? Yes, not 20 years here to stay, but 5 to 10. Salesforce in the next 10 years is going to be very strong. None of us are going to struggle in the next 10 years with Salesforce. 15 to 20 years is when I start getting worried about. Personal relations among colleagues and job. Mario, that's a good question. I'm going to come back to you. But Def Guy 319, thank you very much for your super chat. Got an amazing job with Snap, great company. Salesforce admin, transitioned from a business analyst working with data, taking a while to get used to the org and customization. Good, which they said is fine. But any advice on making an impact? You know, the thing new people don't realize is their biggest value is often not understanding the org. Their biggest value is proposing new things that people would not have thought about. Like everyone else on the team is so used to how that org works, for good, for better, or for worse. Like maybe they just do things a certain way that's not optimal. Having a new guy come in and be like, hey, why are you guys doing this? It's kind of weird to me. Shouldn't we do it this way instead? Even if it's a dumb suggestion, the fact that you have the initiative and the courage to bring up something like that, that's what makes new people stand out. So I would focus less on trying to, just kind of conform to the org and focus more on like providing a really unique opinion that no one else on the team may have. That's a great job, by the way, at Snap. Let's see, I said, Mario, how much personal relationships do I have with my... I was going to make a YouTube video on this. I eat lunch by myself every day. I try not to... The larger the company I've worked with, the less relationships I've had with my colleagues. We have a great professional relationship and we all respect each other and we all hope for the best in all the personal lives. But I don't think I'd ever invite a colleague over like to my house, for example, and vice versa. At small companies, I worked at a small company like 10 years and I still talk with those people all the time. Like the smaller the company is, the closer you get to them. So, I don't really want to be friends with my coworkers too. Not that I don't like them, but like I just don't want to be thinking about work all the time. Especially as a manager now, I can't be friends with anyone. That's actually one of the worst parts about being a manager. I feel like is I kind of represent a company more than I represent like people and personally. But that's a line I'm trying not to cross. So I still hope to keep it real with people. And that's a deep question. We can talk a lot more about that. Matthew, get another beer and have you freestyle some overall thoughts. Oh man, watch me throw up live on TV. No, just kidding. I probably need like 6 more beers for that to happen. Do I help people landing a job? I kind of dream like I should just make it'd be cool if I just had a group where we just like focus on getting everyone jobs, but I don't have time for that. So, but it'd be great. It'd have a good impact, I feel like, on people. What's the best piece of negotiation advice you received? DA Ledger, bam. First of all, you have to negotiate every offer, 100% of them. You have to do it. The best piece of negotiation advice, the best piece of advice that I received that people never follow is to ask for a lot. People are always scared about this. Let's say they get a job offer for 100K and they really want 120K. What people will do is they'll ask for 120K and then the other company will meet them in the middle at 110. And then like no one's ever satisfied. What they should have done instead is they should have asked for 140K. So they met in the middle at 120K. And this is like, people are always scared to do this because they're scared to ask for this big number. But like, it's just so normal now that I've seen both sides, it's just so normal in negotiations for people to make these kind of requests that like, you really shouldn't be scared. And like, when I applied for Google, I was scared to negotiate too. I was like, oh, what if they take away the job offer? Like I would work as a janitor at Google for $5. Like, so I don't want to make a crazy request for my pay. So I played it safe. But no, companies are not gonna withdraw an offer just because you asked for a big number. So just go big and then you'll meet in the middle. Like, and it's really scary to do, but That's the best negotiating advice, and that's for compensation. I know there's a lot of other things negotiating you can negotiate about. Suvik, thanks, David. Any advice? I'm looking to get into Fang as Salesforce. Fang. So Fang, if you're not familiar with Fang, it's short for Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Basically, like what is generally considered to be top tier tech companies. It's not Fangza with a S with Salesforce in there. Notice, Salesforce is not really considered top tier tech company, and especially in Silicon Valley here, but they're like tier 2, which is still good. So my advice for getting into Fang: how many certs should I have? I mean, I interviewed someone recently with no certs. So certs, they certainly help. And especially with Salesforce resumes where where everyone kind of looks the same. You have to have very strong algorithm skills to get into Fang companies as a Salesforce developer, even though you will never use those algorithms on the job. You just have to. The alternative is you get into a Fang company in a non-technical role, and then you later transfer into a technical role. That way you can do it without learning algorithms. And it's probably easier because transferring is easy at tech companies, at all the Fang companies, basically. So that's actually how I got into Google. I applied for a role that was a Salesforce developer role, but not on a technical ladder. So I didn't have to pass the algorithm interview. And then after that, I transferred into the technical ladder so I can make the same pay as them. So that's the easy way. But the traditional way, yeah, you're going to have to get algorithms. Yeah. Cheers, Bill from New Zealand. Ben, you mentioned earlier that flows weren't ideal for scale and that large orgs, you wouldn't use it over code. What would you consider an org to be large for flows? 500 users I consider medium size. 1,000 is when it starts to get large. But you can have it's usually not user count that determines size. It's like record count and like maybe like the amount of code complexity. But I realize it's not easy to put a number into that. So user count is often used. 10,000 users would be considered pretty darn big. 1,000 is when it starts to get on the big side. So yeah, but I've worked at orgs with 200 users that I would consider massive. And then I've worked at, I haven't worked at any, I've worked at orgs with 20,000 users, but they were also massive. So I think the more users you have, the more guarantee it is that it's a large org. Romeo, how are you liking being a manager? What's the hardest part? This is my second time being a manager. The first time I really didn't like it because of various reasons I can't go into. But this time I'm really liking it a lot more. And it's probably because I have a really great team. Like I knew everyone on the team before I became a manager because I was just an individual contributor on the team. So I already have relationships with people, and we already had great like working relationships anyways. So I'm super lucky. And these are like some of the smartest people in the world, which also makes it nice. Like non-toxic people, type of environment. So really lucky. The hardest part is that line between like being someone's friend and being someone's manager. Like some of the decisions I make with some of these people who I really enjoyed as, work friends, like now having to control their compensation, which impacts the rest of their family. That's going to be tough. But the way I'm doing it is, I'm hoping to coach them in their personal career, similar to how I'm coaching people here in this live stream, to help them, be the best they can be. And at the end, hopefully it makes everyone a lot of money and a lot of success. And ultimately that would bring me success too. So that's the part I'm trying to figure out. Another thing I struggle with is managing upwards. Now that I have to work with a higher level of leaders, it's a lot tougher. All right, let's keep going. How does a normal day at my job? That's one I could spend a lot of time on. I spend all my time thinking about the team and how we could work better as a team. Before I was a manager, a normal day, I would spend most of my time thinking like, is what we are building, does it have an impact at the end of the day on the broader team, or am I wasting time? Like, I spend a lot of time thinking of that. Like, it's so easy to work entire quarter on a project, and then like it launches and then no one really uses it. And that's the worst case scenario. So I'd always think about like, what can we do on this project to make sure it has maximum impact? And that's the best way to get promoted at Google. So that's something I think about a lot. And I notice a lot of lower level people don't necessarily think about that. They kind of just go with the flow and they just build stuff. So that's me. Crank Storms. All right. What's the best way of getting experience after getting certified? I need to hear about it from the best. If you don't have a job in the Salesforce industry, it's harder to get experience, obviously. But ways you can do it is you can volunteer, you can do personal projects, you can do cheap jobs on Fiverr, you can go on the community, Trailblazer community or Stack Exchange, and answer questions. And yeah, that'll do it. That last one especially. Libor, how does your regular day look like apart from spending half my day in showers and massages? I skateboard to work every morning. I get in at about 9 o'clock, drink some coffee. I'll read emails. Then I'll spend the next 8 hours thinking how I can make the team better. I'll go out for lunch by myself, eat the same lunch every day, a salad with basically a full avocado. It's harder as a manager because I feel like there's less like actual work I do because it's more other people doing the work and just making sure people are pointed in the right direction, that our relationships with other teams are good. And I am not a good manager yet, hopefully one day, so I feel like you shouldn't listen to me here. But when I was an individual contributor, I'd spend a lot of time making sure impact at the end of the day. Whether it was related to my job position or not, just making sure the things we did had the highest impact on the team. Sometimes that's a technical question, sometimes that's not. Super chat, Jaluri, what's up? Did you ever get bored working on the same technology? I won't say I'm bored with Salesforce, but I am less interested in the technology aspects of it because I have been doing it for a long time and I am moving to less technical roles. So yeah, and that's like I had my website for 10 years, SFDC 99. That's, even though I teach code on it, it's not really a technical site. It's more of a creative, like it's like writing, which is like kind of the opposite of tech. And that's always kept me interested because I'd get a balanced perspective on things technical and non-technical. So in terms of career-wise, like I've never really been bored because whenever I'm bored at work, I find something outside of work to focus on that kind of fulfills that gap for me. And for right now, that's YouTube for me. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna leave the Salesforce industry anytime soon because that would not be really smart for me to do. And yeah, there's just too much runway there to do that. But I am kind of making myself slightly more generic. I have a longboard. It's called a long distance pump longboard. It's 5 miles for me to and from work. So I longboard 10 miles a day basically. It's a longboard that it's really low to the ground and you can wiggle, propel it. So it's kind of interesting. Very few people do it. It looks really silly when I do it, but I love it. I love it so much. How long does the CTA exam, I mean, prepping for it or the actual exam? Prepping for it's like a multi-year thing. The actual exam itself is about 4 hours long. 2 hours designing a solution, and then the next 2 hours presenting it. I'm married with 2 kids. Been with my wife over 10 years. Got really lucky with her. Seriously, got really lucky with her. My 2 kids are awesome. What technology do you recommend for someone new in this industry? If not Salesforce, AI for sure. AI. If my kid was graduating for college right now, that's what I would recommend he get into. My first son, my second is a daughter, but I would recommend going into AI. What are my screen time rules for my kids? Well, they don't watch. They basically watch no TV. Dinner time they do, because both our kids are really skinny, and we're trying to get them to eat more, and they only do it when they watch TV. So that's our guilty thing. But outside of that, they watch almost nothing. Best way to capitalize working 60 hours per week to get promotions, higher pay. Getting promoted is sometimes, like, getting promoted is sometimes a different beast. Like, you have to like kiss up to the right people, kind of. You have to make the right people happy, especially your manager. I feel like people don't capitalize on their manager relationship as much as they could. I'm gonna have a YouTube video on this. Like, there are small things you can do to make your manager happy. Like, you have one-on-ones every week with your manager. Like, come to that one-on-one with a document prepared with all the updates on that and all the relevant links. Like, small things like that make you seem a lot more responsible, so that when your manager thinking like who to promote next, like, they'll be like, all right, this person's on top of things. Like, there's so many like mini optimizations you can make to do that. Then after you get promoted, the best time to change your job is right after you get promoted, because your new job is going to pay you, I don't know, 10% more than your current pay. And so the best time is right after you get more pay. And so you get a raise, and then you change jobs, you get another raise, you wait till you get a raise, and then you change jobs again. And then you basically like play that game until you make enough money. I was fortunate I played that game when I was younger. So yeah. All right, super chat, Shad. Percentage increase from IC to manager. In terms of my pay, 0. At Google, your pay doesn't change with that. I did get promoted before, and my increase was 10 to 15%. I can't remember if you ask me how much money I get paid right now, I actually don't even know the number. I could find it out very easily though, but I don't remember the exact number. I always have to end up looking it up. Because I actually never really focus on pay. Like, it's been important, of course, but I kind of focus on like the fundamentals of pay more. Like, am I learning the right things to increase my pay more? And that's the stuff I stress about, not necessarily the exact number. But yeah, that was my percentage increase. But generally at Google, when you become a manager, your pay doesn't change. And oftentimes, previously when I was manager, I was making less money than the people that reported to me. Shiv, what's up, man?
I didn't understand.
Okay, that's my Google Home. Product companies versus consulting companies for starting out devs. What do you recommend? Ooh. Consulting companies, it's hard to beat consulting companies if you want to learn, because they have the most people you can lean on to learn from. A lot of infrastructure as well there. You also get the most variety of deployments. So you see a more variety of stuff, and you learn a lot from there. And so you just that's really the best way to learn. The downside is you don't see the long-term effects of your work. And that I feel is really important. Like, I launched something and a year later, how is it doing? Like, you don't really get that. And that changes how you build stuff. And so like, when I interview people, like, that's something I kind of look out for, to see like, do they understand the long-term implications of the things they do? I feel like consulting companies generally index towards the short term. So if it was me, I would actually go product company and kind of try to move up that chain and change companies often, which gives you similar experience to working in consulting. But generally consulting is better here. Violet, can a manager stop you from moving to another team if they don't want to lose? No, not at Google. And certainly, I'm guessing not at most FAANG companies. If you want to move, you can move without even telling your manager. Like, I can transfer, and that transfer will be approved, and like, my manager would have no idea until it's a done deal. And sometimes I've even done that. Actually, every time I've done that, basically. So Google just wants people to be happy and that they stay at Google. Yeah. Now that I think of it, I feel guilty for not telling my managers. But but you don't ever want to like tell your manager before it's a done deal, and then like have your manager potentially try to stop you from moving. Not that they really could, but who knows what they could do? You know, maybe they reach out to the new manager and say bad things about it. Who knows, right? Like you don't want that to ever happen. So yeah, all my managers have been really nice. Have been really nice about it. I'm gonna have a YouTube video how to quit your job without pissing people off. That one's been in the back of my head for a while. Sam, what plant is in the background? This one over here is, I don't know, I just got it from Target. I bought a lot of furniture here to kind of dampen the sound, so the sound would come nice through the mic. And plants are really good for that because it deflects a lot of weight. It's a fake plant. I have no idea what it is, but I was just going for surface area. All right, let's see. Why are there less jobs for AI now? I did my final. AI I feel like has been like a trendy thing, and I feel like it goes up and down. And maybe it has like kind of like plateaued now. I feel like it's just gonna go up again at some point. So I don't know why I don't know exactly why there's less now. I'm not sure if that's true or if that's just like, you know, your industry versus in the Silicon Valley. But I still feel like it's the strongest place to put bets in if you're going for something long term right now, like out of college. My lighting is great. Can we do a quick setup rundown? I've got a light right here, $1,000 light right here, light there, $200 one, $200 one here. I've got a backlight you can't see. Maybe you can see. I'm going to try to bring it down here, shining on me. I've got three Philips Hue lights in the background I can control from my phone. So I've got a decent amount of lighting here. I've invested a lot into this YouTube stuff. So yeah. That's it. What's my practice on work-life balance? I'm pretty unapologetic about it. I don't send emails after 5, and I don't read emails after 5. But I make sure when I do work, I work hard. That's probably the difference between me and the average person. Like I feel like most people when they're working, they're really only 60% there. I try to be 100% there. During COVID, that's gone way down. But generally, I'm 100% there. And so 40 hours a week for me working is like more than the average person. TKT Louis. No, I actually forgot how to write my Chinese name, so that could be my Chinese name. It could not. But yeah, we might be related. I have a friend named Louis Liu also. So yeah, it's a pretty common name though, but yeah. Does Google really value diversity and women in tech as they always talk about? Okay, I can't go super deep into this because I don't want to get fired, but I really do feel like Google very, very strongly values diversity and women in tech. Like the evidence I've seen is so strong there. I can't go deep into it, but like I legit feel like Google is a good company doing good things. And they're not kidding when they say that they value diversity in women. I can't go into it, but the examples I've seen are super strong. DA Ledger, do you have any strategies for navigating politics at places like Google and your role within the Salesforce ecosystem? I used to always say I never considered myself a very political person at work, but then I start realizing all the small things I do to like kind of like play politics and kiss up to people. So I probably am a very political person at work, unfortunately. At the end of the day, though, I just want everyone to succeed and for us to all make money there. So there's like, it's kind of complicated. Maybe one thing I do at work is like, I try to be friends with everyone. Not always the best thing to do in politics at work. I always try to take the high road and like be nice to everyone and not like scream or anything or make a scene and stuff like that. Try to make everyone happy, which is very, very difficult, but sometimes you can break bad news while still being very I don't know, politically correct. I'm not sure what the right word is. but that's kind of how I am as a person, and I don't think I could change that even if I wanted to. Fortunately, that has worked out for me. I feel like at Google, as long as you're making an impact, it's less important how the politics play out. As long as you're not being mean to people. So one, be nice. Two, make an impact. Like your work has to like, speak for itself in some ways. And I think you're going to be good. My role within Salesforce ecosystem, that's kind of different. I approach that differently. I just speak my mind in the Salesforce ecosystem. Whether people agree with it or not, like that's kind of like the way it is. So yeah, that's how I feel. I actually never thought any of the stuff I said was really controversial until recently, and then I'm getting some nasty messages from people. I was like, shoot, what's going on? But at the end of the day, I try to say what I think from the heart is what I believe, because my goal of this channel is to help people with their careers. It's actually not to help people with their Salesforce careers. It's to help people with their careers, period. And that includes saying negative things about Salesforce, which is probably why is probably the most controversial stuff I've done. All right, let's keep going. Super chat, Deaf Guy, what's up? Any advice for imposter syndrome, especially career changing into the first Salesforce role? Certifications, man. Certifications are the best way to deal with this imposter syndrome, because they say like, I have met the international standard for X, and thus I'm at least that good. So Platform Dev 2 was a big one for me in getting over my kind of coding imposter syndrome. So that's what I would recommend. Nothing else has really worked for me otherwise. Honestly, nothing else has worked for me otherwise, aside from passing these universal things. I still consider myself an imposter, but it's kind of a weird thing to talk about. Like, so it's hard for me to get too deep into that. But yeah. All right, let's keep going. What's my favorite vacation? I don't travel much. I only travel for Salesforce, Romeo, which is kind of sad. But I ski twice a week, and it's a 4-hour drive. And I'll drive 4 hours, I'll ski, and I'll drive 4 hours back. So that's probably my favorite, Lake Tahoe. I have 2 years left, and I'm dreading continuing your university degree. Oh man, what are your thoughts on it? Oh man, this is such a hard one. I'm imagining my son is 23, or my daughter, and she's hating college. And what would I recommend? Change your major, maybe. I mean, are you dreading it because of the work, or are you dreading it because of like some of the social stuff? If it's because of the work, then maybe I'd say change your major into something that maybe you enjoy more. If it was my son or daughter, I'd say, okay, look, if you can prove to me you're doing good stuff outside of your degree, like you're still learning and you're still making an impact more so than your degree, then maybe I'd be okay with you not doing it. Like there's some radical parenting concept where like, instead of sending your kids to college, you give them 200 grand or just some large amount of money, and you let them choose whether they want to spend it on college or not. Yeah. And Dimitri, was Google a deliberate choice among all FANG companies? Why Google? Oh, I like this question. Let's talk about this. Google is a fantastic company. FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Google has always been my favorite. I feel like it represents me the most. It's like kind of a goofy company. Doesn't take itself that seriously. Still high performing people, very open, and great culture. Whereas Apple, I feel like is too secretive. I feel like not it's less like me. Facebook, I don't like social media, so that's less like me. Netflix, I love Netflix. Netflix pays the most of all the FANG companies. You might not know this, but Netflix pays the most. So I'd love to join Netflix, but they fire a lot of people. So I'd be worried about that. So Google, in my opinion, is a perfect company. I've actually never applied. I'm pretty sure I've never applied to Facebook or Amazon or Netflix. Maybe Apple, But Google, I applied every year, rejected 10 times, got in at number 11. So Google was very deliberate for me. It was the number one I was gunning for overall. Romeo, are there any Salesforce admins at Google? I probably can't get too deep into this without getting fired, but there's a lot less. There's a lot less. Do you think Google will eventually create its own version of Salesforce or Trailhead at least, Matthew? You know, the founder of Trailhead, Adam Seligman, he used to own Trailhead. And then he joined Google a few years ago. And then he has since left. So I assume we're not doing anything Trailhead related. Maybe he tried and then it just didn't work out. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just saying that. I don't know, don't fire me, Google. Why is Microsoft not included with the likes of Fang? That's a good question. I feel like Microsoft is kind of past its prime, whereas all the other ones are still prime. Microsoft, and I say past its prime, not like it's a bad company, because it's still a fantastic company, but it's just not really innovating anymore like Apple is innovating or Netflix is innovating. Microsoft is kind of just like maintaining its position, maybe even losing share every day to Apple and other companies. So that's probably why. Microsoft I consider like close to top tier though. Microsoft I consider higher tier than Salesforce in general. So Microsoft is up there. Yeah. Mario, I've got an upcoming phone call with a recruiter to discuss whether or not I'd be the right fit. We talked before and she said I had to improve my profile and I did. How can I shine? So if your call's with a recruiter, sometimes recruiters, like oftentimes companies will have a recruiter and then after that will be the interviews. And the interviews will be the people who actually know Salesforce, the teams you'll be working with. And the recruiter might be some generic recruiter at the company working in HR who knows nothing about Salesforce. In which case it's purely your soft skills, your conversational skills. Can they feel like they can hold a conversation with you? Do they feel like you're smart and you're not BSing? So definitely be very polite. No BS. Hold a nice conversation. You'll be really surprised. At the end of the interview, it's always like, do you have any questions for me? And people never have good questions there. I would memorize a good list of 5, maybe more than 5 questions to ask. Very targeted questions, not open-ended ones. Like, don't ask like, what's the work-life balance like? Because then people think you're lazy. A decent question is like, what's the culture like? But that's still a little bit too open-ended. Maybe a better question is like, what's the culture like given that recently in the news, people said XYZ about the company? Is that true? Like that's a very, very targeted question, still in a good space like culture, and prepare a few of those. I don't have coding skills. Do you prefer Salesforce? You can be a Salesforce admin without coding skills, Siam. Or you can be like me where I had no coding skills and then I, self-taught developer and then become a Salesforce developer. That's possible too. All right, folks. 10:15 p.m. right now. We'll be going 3 hours, 15 minutes. We'll go another 15 minutes. At 10:30, we'll call it a day. Then I'll check in on my wife and kids. We'll call it a day. So yeah, if you got any final questions, let's get them in. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you all for being here, by the way. I can't believe we've been going this long. Really, really exceeded all my expectations. And I'm happy that, you guys girls are getting help and getting answers. So thank you. And thank you to my wife as well. And thanks to all the super chat folks. All right, let's keep going. I'm confused between learning Salesforce or Cloud Tech. I have experience in Viva CRM, but my company provides free. I heard cloud is pretty hot, like AWS, Google type of stuff. I just don't know how hot compared to Salesforce. I know for sure Salesforce is hot though, so I can definitely recommend Salesforce. Can't necessarily recommend the rest. Why is Salesforce coming up with new F-tier certs such as Omni Studio, which aren't as important? The Salesforce certification strategy really surprises me. Like there's probably like 30 or 40 certs right now. There's probably certs that have come out that I've never even heard of. I'm just not even aware of yet. I don't really like the direction that's going. Because then like someone on the resume is just going to say they have 40 certs, which is just ridiculous. If someone has 40 certs, then each cert must not be that valuable or impressive. I kind of wish that like each cert was worth more and there was less. I don't know what they're doing, honestly. Maybe they make a lot of money with it. I don't know. Hepta, have I considered working with Salesforce? They work too hard, so I don't think I could. Also, if I worked for Salesforce, I could no longer say bad things about them. If there's any Salesforce employees watching, I love Salesforce. Please don't kick me out of the MVP program. I feel like if I speak my mind openly about it, it'll get more people into Salesforce than if I was like, you know, just like I don't know what's the word, shilling. Shiv, assuming that one of your team members is technically good, what's up, Shiv? What are the other factors that you consider as going the extra mile? I would say technical is like 50% of the equation, maybe only 45% of the equation. The other 55, initiative, innovation, communication, like leadership. I like seeing, or like you can be very technical and still go the extra mile. Like let's say you're the most technical person on the team. The biggest impact you can make next is getting everyone else on your level. So like having the initiative to, I don't know, schedule training sessions to teach other people on the team this new technology that you discovered. Like that hits leadership, that hits initiative, that hits innovation, that hits everything. And then the whole team becomes better. You multiply yourself. And the problem with a developer is one person can only do so much until they start influencing other people. That's when you have really big impact. And so that's what I like to see from the best tech people. I'm a Salesforce employee. I love your content. Thanks, SW. SW, I feel like I've seen you around before. Maybe you recently became a Salesforce employee or something. Cheers, SW. Love hearing it. Thank you. Every time I go on LinkedIn and it tells me like I'll have a lot of Salesforce employees looking at my stuff, which makes me so nervous. And a lot of Salesforce employees disagree with me on some of the takes I have, which I understand. They probably know better than me anyways. Would it be difficult for someone with zero tech experience and just the Salesforce admin cert to get a job? Yes, the admin cert by itself is almost worthless, a rule. You need more than that these days. Like you need, yeah, like I would say 5 certs is what I would aim for. I know it's controversial, but that's what I'd aim for. SW, yeah, that's you. I knew it. Sweet. Do you think AI ML experience is useful for Einstein? Does it have a layer where a developer contribute? Is it a promising niche to focus on? I think AI ML in general is promising. In the scope of Salesforce Einstein, no. Does Salesforce Einstein help? Yes, but it's not as technical as real AI ML, where you're like studying like the graphs, and I can't remember the exact words, but like the accuracy and precision of everything. Like Einstein doesn't really go into that depth. It kind of abstracts it for you, but it's a good starting point. So maybe I'd start with Einstein and then I move to something more generic, TensorFlow or something. Have I run into Sundar Pichai? One time during COVID in downtown Palo Alto, I thought I saw Sundar. I was like, "Hey, are you Sundar?" And because there was a security guard, he's like, "Yeah, that's me." I'm like, "I work for you." Sweet. And he took the time of day to say hi to me, ask about my family. And then after that, he turned around and he's like, "All right, I'm not going downtown anymore." But what I learned there is like, I've always loved Sundar, and that I love him even more after that. Like he is legitimately a good person, and I would do anything for that man. So Sundar is the man. I know he's considered a god in a lot of circles, and he has earned that. What do you think of social media and smart? I don't participate in social media aside from promoting my stuff. And you'll see I never comment on stuff either. It's just like social media gets too toxic too fast. But anytime I get a private message, I'll always respond to it. I feel like you can have a better communication that way. But it's like I'm just so scared of people ganging up on me on social media. And yeah. If I could snap my fingers and delete all social media from the planet, excluding YouTube, I probably would do that. I might think the world is a better place without social media. which is why I probably wouldn't work at Facebook unless I got fired from Google. And then my options are all limited. I hope Facebook doesn't see that. Do we have staff software Salesforce developers? How are they different? Staff software in FANG companies, a staff employee just means you've reached a certain level of, like, at FANG companies there's like level 1 to 10 basically, and a staff software engineer would be like a level 6, very very high level person. So yes, they do exist. I know a few of them at Google, including myself, but yeah. Hey David, do you have any tips on building your personal brand? This one's a tough one. I spend a lot of time on this. I actually feel like I've never been good technically or at certain things, but at personal branding, I feel pretty good at it because I have a marketing degree and it's something I spend a lot of time thinking about. How I would improve it though, that's a tough one because I feel like it's a combination of a lot of small things. First thing I think of when I look at you though is you got to improve your picture. What are the habits of top performers at Google that make a huge difference at work? Initiative is a big one. A lot of people at big companies, they get jaded and they think, I shouldn't do this because there's too much red tape, it's not worth doing. Or like it's too big of a company, I shouldn't go against the status quo. But taking the initiative and doing it anyways, and doing it even against all odds, that's what's always paid off for me, whether I succeed or fail. And those are the people I like to work with as well. Quentin, I just started as a junior Salesforce developer. I feel a bit lost and overwhelmed. Salesforce is a big world, man. Welcome, by the way. It's a big world. It's easy to get overwhelmed. I've been doing this over 10 years and I still feel like I only know maybe like 20% of the entire Salesforce world. So just know that everyone else is struggling just as much as you. Advice to grow, focus on the newer technologies. LWC for sure. For sure, LWC, Quentin. LWC. Learn your integration patterns. LWC. All right. Habits of top performers. I think I answered that one. ERP systems, not sure what that is. What do you think? Where do you think the best jobs in Salesforce are outside of North America? I think London is a big hub. India, obviously, as well, certainly for developers. But London is one that's similar to the US in terms of the pay and all that kind of stuff. Not as much, obviously, but it's up there in London. Yeah. I'm struggling to think of anything else as good. Australia, it could be. Oh, Japan. Oh, are you in Japan, SW? You in Japan? Japan, I love Japan. I love Japan. At Dreamforce, if you've never been to Dreamforce, they have a special section just for Japanese media. And they don't have that for any other country, just for Japanese. And I feel like the Japanese Salesforce MVP community is also kind of like its own subset of people. Very, very strong community. Certainly in Japan, yeah. I wish I spoke Japanese. I learned Japanese for 3 years, but I don't have much to show for it. I wish I did so I could go over there and do some community stuff. You're in LA. Yeah, Japan's top notch. What are great qualities you see in yourself or hiring managers for beyond tech and Salesforce skills? I think one good thing about myself is like I feel like I'm really focused on I've really focused and tried to learn how to improve my personal career despite all my limitations. I'm a very flawed human being. I won't go too deep into it, but I'm generally a really quiet person. I'm not really a fun person, to be honest. And I have a lot of things that hold me back, honestly, like socially. But like, despite all that, I've been able to like climb to a decent level. And so like, I feel like there are things I've observed and done myself that I can really help other people do as well. And I feel like I've learned that better because I'm not a brilliant person. It's kind of forced me to do it. So yeah. LA is Louisiana, not Los Angeles. Okay, got it. Gotcha. Do I have any predictions for Dreamforce? Man, remote Dreamforce is going to be so boring. I don't even know how much of it I'll watch. It's just not fun these days, remote stuff. I hope next year's in person. Any predictions? I mean, I wonder if Salesforce is going to even announce anything interesting. I guess Salesforce Plus. I don't know what that's all about. But maybe they're saving it for next year. I don't know. I'm curious too. Do I like motorcycles? No, I drive a minivan, so I'm pretty boring there. How will you start learning Salesforce development? Definitely check out my classes. Email me, you have it all for free, yeah? Pacquiao or Spence? Manny Pacquiao? So then Manny Pacquiao, because I don't know who Spence is. Audio is coming only for left. Okay, I need to talk to someone. Needs to help me on this. Sid Tao, if you're still here, I'm going to reach out to you. What's the best way to learn LWC? I definitely say Trailhead. Personally, that's the best content I've seen on it. So yeah, aside from that, I'm not really sure. Just kind of experience in building things yourself. Make up your own requirements and build them. Rohan, should one consider moving out of the Salesforce ecosystem and more towards... if you have the skills to do that, then I probably would do that. Moving towards a more general software engineering role. But I wouldn't really feel like in a rush to do that. I mean, Salesforce developer jobs are so hot right now. You don't really need to do that unless you feel unsatisfied with your job. I feel like it could be premature to try to do that right now. There's a certain wave that you want to ride, and now's a good time to keep riding that wave. All right, sweet. I think. All right, we're at 10:30. I feel like I want to do like end on one last question. It's like when I play tennis. Like I always want to land it on one good point. What? Shiv, thank you, sir. Bro, thanks, man. Thank you. Balaja, what time do I sleep? All right. I'm gonna sleep right now because I have to wake up. I promised my wife. She said I promised her if she'd let me do this live stream that I'd take care of the kids all day tomorrow, and she could just completely relax. So I'm gonna wake up early, make breakfast, and take the kids out so my wife can just spend some time with herself. So I'm gonna sleep right after this, and I'm gonna sleep well because I really had a good time during this chat. It was great talking with y'all. Some great questions. I really appreciate like you being here with me on this weekend. Didn't know if people would join, so I'm glad to see people. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you to my wife as well. And yeah, I'll post a recording of this up live. I'll have chapters for every question. But it's been good. So I love you all. Thank you for being here. Seriously, I wish success on every one of you. And I hope, this live chat brought you one more step closer to success. And I'm going to keep trying to, share whatever insights I have on this with you over my channel, not going anywhere. So don't worry about it all. So thank you. I'm seeing in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the kind words. Bro, William, I know it's William. I know you're my cousin, man. Good, man. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Have a good weekend. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.